Welcome into a wide open Wednesday, and really it's a Luddy is getting comfortable Wednesday here in the Iron Jock Studios. I'm Billy Schmidt. Armin Sarian is by my side. John Kuhn.
Hey.
All right. That's how you set it off.
Armin, that was patronizing. I take offense to that. Billy's was great. Billy's is still genuine. Yours is patronizing.
No.
Don't do it if it's going to be fake. Don't do it.
Would you just
We don't, false confidence, false enthusiasm. We don't run with that fake stuff. It's either authentic or it's nothing.
Yeah, it's real.
If you see me authentically getting into it at a game with some sort of thing, that's what I look like. All right. So you wanted the Armin. All right. You got it. Okay. That was authentic. That was not patronizing at all.
That was the Armin.
If it's patronizing, you'll know it, John. Okay.
I felt like it.
I kind of thought the may have been a little patronizing.
You know what? Smirk on your face.
Well, I smirk sometimes. I'll admit that. I will admit that. But yeah.
Hard not to be smiling in this sauna of the studio that we got rolling in.
Well,
here too.
I like it warm normally, but I'm usually the only one. And that was always the way it was. So, but it was warm when we came in
a
here.
little different in here. John, there are some moments when you start realizing how comfortable you're getting. And I am happy as somebody that really, really enjoys Andrew Ludwig. I am really happy that he is getting confident and comfortable enough in this building to crank the thermostat above the 80-degree threshold. I walked in, like, are we baking cookies in here? It's 82 in here.
I like it.
Now we're talking Luddy. A sweat
cold,
box in here with his long sleeves on. That's what I'm talking about. Okay.
He finally had a
Holy
really good
cow.
He had a really good banger this morning. So I think that gave him some confidence. Okay. Ludwig had a really good banger.
What did he go with?
You Can't Touch This by MC Hammer.
How has that not been picked?
That's the first thing I said to myself,
Good Lord. How was never used?
How's that not been picked?
I'm mad at myself, to be honest. For a while, I was picking bangers. You guys remember those days? And I didn't
pick bangers a few different times.
Yeah, I had a couple cycles.
You got picked, and then they said, we don't want your picks, and then we need your picks again.
Yeah.
And then randomly it would be, Armin, can you give us 3 picks in a week?
It was like J-Lo and Ben Affleck, on, off. And they're off again.
It's a good comparison.
You guys saw that this morning. They're off again. So, hey, best wishes out to both of them. Hopefully they can get through this.
Couldn't we have seen that coming?
Oh, I don't know how. They've only done it 15 times.
I was going to look more at the fact of if you looked at his face in a couple of those pictures that TMZ had been finding of them the last couple of days. Looked like a guy that was sitting there knowing he had a fantasy football draft, and he's waiting and waiting. His wife's like, no, it's okay. Only 2 more minutes. Only 10 more minutes. Only 10 more minutes. Well, I've already missed my first 2 picks.
It is wildly approaching. Men prepare to be nagged season, right?
Very much so. Yes, John.
Football season, real talk. The NFL kicks off. I mean, week 0 is this weekend. Week 0. I think week -1 was last weekend for college football. Still have not confirmed nor denied whether there was this weekend in college football. Next, 2 weeks from tomorrow is the first NFL game.
Yep, we're almost there. We're almost there.
I mean, you better get your memos out to your wives and let them know that 2 weeks from tomorrow, you will have a game on Thursday. You will have a Packer game on Friday. You will have a college football slate on Saturday, and you will have a week 1 NFL slate right in front of you on Sunday. You better call off with your wives or your significant others for those 4 days to kick this thing off.
It's remarkable how many garages are going to get cleaned this weekend.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean,
a whole honeydew lists are going to be finished. Everything's going to be done because fantasy football drafts got to get shoved in there in the next 2 weeks.
You're going to drive through your neighborhood. Where's pickup? I thought they just picked it up. Oh no. Everyone's doing grass clippings and picking up weeds, and you're just throwing out the petunias that you had planted there in the backyard. Okay, sweet. Nice. We're done. We're done with this. Summer ends up being over quickly, and then you get into football season and you start focusing on what really matters. We've almost made it. Even though, Brewers fans, don't you fret. Don't you worry.
Don't worry about that.
We're still talking crew. We're still focused on the 21 games over 500 Milwaukee Brewers.
Ooh, baby. Could they finish with the best record in all of baseball?
Tied for the 2 seed right now. Thanks, Phillies.
Possible. We're in the mix right there.
Best run differential in the National League.
All of baseball.
All of baseball. We're trending toward not having a 100-win team for the first time since 14. Did we talk about that?
We talked about that. Yeah. First time the run differential hasn't been over 200, trending towards that as well for a team. The parity in baseball is wild this year, Armin.
Amongst the top teams too. Amongst the top teams.
Well, with everybody, it's the top. It's top to upper mid tier.
There's like 2 or 3 butt teams. Obviously, the White Sox are terrible.
Straight cheeks. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying. But you're right, John. Other than them, those anchors, the parity's pretty good, and the parity amongst the contenders is good. So it should be a fun finish.
That was a serious question for Wags yesterday. Does that give you more concern, or does that give you more hope? Like the more see, what I meant by that was, sometimes if there's 1 or 2 like Bowsers that you have to worry about, maybe somebody else knocks them off. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't even have to play them in the playoffs.
Well,
but with all this parity,
But
with all this parity, it also gives you the feeling of, man, it's anybody's championship this year. I want to say it out loud. Everybody's going to hate me for saying it. If the Brewers finish with the best record in baseball and go to the World Series, Pat Murphy needs an absolute statue of himself ASAP down there. I mean, I don't even know what to say about how fabulous this season has been.
No one's going to hate you for saying that. I thought what you were going to say is if the Brewers go and lose in the first round, then we're going to, that would be something to hate. No, we're going to love the fact that the Brewers are in the World Series. And you're right, John. Murph, I mean, for crying out loud.
People don't want you to jinx it. That's why I was
but I mean,
that's why I was reluctant to say it. And notice I didn't say win the World Series. I say get in the World Series, because if they make it the whole way, I don't want to jinx that one. Like, let's just let that one sit out there and lie. I'm not even going to talk about that scenario yet.
Well, if they lose the World Series, it might be better for them because they might make money in 17 documentaries after it. But
that's true. They might get more run.
Might get more run if you don't.
They will immediately start doing documentaries for next season, for the next, call 40 years.
So we've already cast off like 5 guys from that championship team from 21 for the Bucks, and don't even want to talk about Jeff Teague or anybody anymore. So it'd be good.
And I get it, John. Like winning the World Series, you just mentioned getting there, because I think like winning the World Series is kind of beyond our wildest dreams. So we just feel comfortable keeping it there.
Sure,
you know what I mean, like not getting too ahead.
But you felt like that for the Bucks. I felt like that for the Bucks.
Well,
there was a time, Armin. There was a time with the Bucks, and I'm serious. Before 18, there was a time with the Bucks. We'd be in the locker room at the Packers, and the Packers would come walking through. Somebody from the Packers would come walking through and be like, "I got 12 tickets for the Bucks game tonight. Who wants to go?"
No one wanted them.
Where are they at? Floor seat. You got 12. We can't. Nobody. We can't give them away. We can't.
Yeah.
There was a time it was like that. You would have never fathomed then that the Bucks would have a championship by now, but they do, and we're actually disappointed they don't have more.
Right. So it reminds you of 2 things. One, you can't give up that hope. You got to believe it. It can happen. Don't make it beyond your wildest dreams. Like, make it reality. Right. The Bucks
manifest it.
The Bucks showed us that if you manifest it, it could happen. So we're trying to do that for the Brewers this year. The other thing is, when it happens, and I'm going to say when it happens, because I believe it will.
There you go.
I believe it will.
There you go.
Eventually in my lifetime.
Oh, now it's happening? Oh, in your life.
I don't know about this year. I believe it'll happen.
Hey.
It's not that I'm predicting them to win.
Keep it.
But I believe it could happen. Make sure you appreciate it.
He's the most stitious of it.
Well, I'm medium stitious. I'm not superstitious.
You're trying to say you're just a little stitious?
Stitious, just
you're more than just a little stitious.
Yes, you are. Very
I
much
believe
so.
More than just a little stitious.
I always had the theory. I'm like, I believe it'll happen eventually. I don't know when, but I believe it'll happen. But when it does, let's appreciate it for everything it comes to us. I want to make sure we appreciate the moment, not take it for granted. I don't think we will. I think when you have a fan base like ours, you brought up the Bucks, and the Packers were a good example too. I think before we won in 96 because of the long drought and everything.
Yeah. Nobody was looking at going and winning the next one right away.
They at that point, yes. But when you do win one, it's like, I'm not taking this for granted because it's been so long. That's a lot of times the most pure joy of the moment, right? And then it's the whole, now we want more. Now we want more. It's like the kid that first.
Now we only won one. Maybe we are a fart in the wind.
So that first one is always special. So when it does happen for the Brewers as well, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. Let's just make sure we appreciate every moment of it, guys.
So what you're saying is don't be worried if it's the only.
Yeah.
If you get one, that's okay.
It's sort of like Mike Holmgren they was telling a story once. Mike Holmgren was so confident in the play call for Brett. And he said, Brett, this will come wide open. Just make sure you don't overthrow it. It'll be a touchdown. But when it's open, just make sure you don't overthrow it. That's how confident he was in the play call, right? It's like Matt LaFleur last week saying we had the perfect look against the perfect call. We just got to make the throw. Like the guys, this was going to happen. Just make sure, we don't take it for granted.
So this is going to happen.
I think that
Brewers winning World Series is going to happen.
Was a little more open than that crossing route to the tight end this past week. I think there was a little bit of a difference there.
Is that when really quick when LaFleur says stuff like that? Is that just like he wants everyone to remind everybody he did his job as a coach? Like, hey, I did my job.
We'll sprain your shoulder, tapping yourself on the back kind of thing.
I just think because like obviously fans are not going to recognize sometimes things like that. Like, no, I did my job as a coach. I got us in the perfect play against the perfect look. That should have been a shot. That should have been a jackpot, right?
No, I think I don't think it's that. I think he is genuinely frustrated because what they saw in the film was validated on the field, and exactly what they coached to do did not work.
Oh, I believe he's frustrated.
And they got to find out why. This is the hilarious part about coaches to players, like the communication that goes through. Coaches will sit there with film and chalkboards and validate everything that they say and why it should work, right? And now when that premier look, and I actually think he was trying to say, I don't know if he needs to flatten it a little bit more, if he needs to throw it a little bit earlier, if he needs to throw it a little bit better. I mean, if you really listen to the context of that answer, Armin, he was saying there's a premier look and he doesn't know why it didn't work. Right.
Right.
What they came up in I'm telling you, that was a premier look. I watched that replay and that safety sat there waiting for the crosser.
Chilling.
There is a chance that the Packers premier look was also the premier look for the Broncos, that they were coached up. Hey, we are going to give them this look, and this is what it's going to be. This is going to be the route combination you're going to get, and you sit and sit and sit. And sometimes premier looks coincide with one another. You might be running which one's the mouse and which one's the trap. Don't bite the cheese is what they used to say as defensive coordinators, because you got to wait for that thing to hit before you pounce. If you bite the cheese, then they will hit it over top of your head. I give credit to that safety. I forget which safety it was. Smith. I think it was Smith for the Broncos. Just sat back there, and he waited for Clifford to turn his eyes back. And I don't think Clifford looked long enough. I don't think he looked long enough away from the receiver, because when he came back, that safety drove on it and intercepted it. Sometimes premier looks are on both sides.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I'm tell you the truth, I don't mind that he says that. I don't want you guys to think I was trying to like take a shot or something.
Oh, no, I want you to be taking a shot.
Don't take a moment.
I don't mind if he's telling me he's the reason. Like, I did my job. I don't mind. It's like if a quarterback lets you know I hit you right in the numbers. I hit him in the numbers. He dropped it, but at least it was right in the numbers. Like, I did my job. I just sensed a little bit of that the second or third time I heard LaFleur say premier look.
I found it more interesting. If we're talking about premier looks and both sides have premier looks, that sounds like we're doing some game planning for preseason games, which would, go against everything that we hear.
Yeah.
There's no planning. There's no game planning. It's all super vanilla. There's nothing that you're being able to find.
But even vanilla is a game plan, right? You got to have some stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting. Oxymoron. Just the more you think about it, it goes against a lot of what you end up talking about. And what Aaron Rodgers was talking about yesterday at Jets camp was apparently physical is okay with me. It is what he needs. It is what they want. It is what they've been craving for. Diana Rossini sounded a little bit different when she was on the Dan Patrick show. How about Colin Cowherd talking very glowingly about the Green Bay Packers? We're going to get into that and see where that bold prediction takes us from Colin throughout, because if Colin was right, we're going to be very, very happy. If Colin was wrong, well, we'll see how that all plays out for your green and gold. It's 414-799-1973, the NicoletLaw.com talking text line open for business on this beautiful wide open Wednesday. It was rocking yesterday. We expect the same participation and excitement throughout the day here today. He's John Kuhn. I'm Billy Schmidt. Armin Sarian's right there, chopping it up with all of you and Wayne Larrabee in about 45 minutes from right now. Off and running on a wide open Wednesday. It's 9 to noon on the game.
Studio talk.
9 to noon on the game. Brewers used one hit of 7 innings from Frankie Montas last night to beat the St. Louis Cardinals down the Redbirds 3-2. Also an insurance run from William Contreras in the 8th inning sure helps in that 3-2 victory.
How about Frankie, huh? How about Big Frank? Everyone was nervous when he came over. His ERA is too much. He had a couple rough starts. He was like missing
I
the
didn't
Reds.
like the fact that he was like crying
about the Reds.
When he was traded to the Brewers in first place. I didn't love.
You know what, guys? I liked it. You know why? It showed me he had a real loyalty to a clubhouse, a real connection.
That's a way to spin it.
And I said he's going to get that here. Once he realizes it's going to be fun and we're going to be playing for a pennant, and we get Willie and those guys around him, he's going to have fun here too. And he's going to start pitching better. And I know I said it on Twitter, and I spent 20 minutes looking for that tweet this morning to try and tell everybody that I was right. Sort of like we talk about coaches and everybody telling themselves they're right. I couldn't find that tweet.
How long did you spend trying to validate yourself?
Maybe 15, 20 minutes, 15 or 20, I'd say. Not that I was doing it instead of other preparation work I should have been doing, because I feel we're prepared. But I was trying to find that tweet. And anyway, I felt really good when I saw Frankie threw all those zeros up last night, because I'm like, okay, I was kind of right about that. I think I was.
Armin Sarian dunking on everybody, letting everybody know he was right. I like that deal a lot.
It's more about the Brewers organization and the pitching, the group doing it again. We found another guy we figured out. Every one of our relievers, thanks to who told me this on the NickLaw.com talk and text line, who has been DFA'd. Every one of our guys in our bullpen at one point in their career, Jeff in a truck, has been DFA'd. But we find a way to make chicken salad out of these guys. And that's a tribute to the organization, a tribute to the pitching lab, a tribute to the coaches. I'm just so proud to be a Brewers fan when these things happen, because we get it done.
Only thing on @Armin Sarian on Twitter, as the kids are calling it X these days. You can stream us on Twitter and X, by the way, if you want to watch the show as well. He's John Kuhn. I'm Billy Schmidt. That's Armin Sarian that you're just hearing there. The answer to your boy Dylan K, who said, I think it was an F trade. It doesn't make any sense. Montas has been really bad, and Junis has been a stud out of the bullpen. You got worse for what? Getting a starter not worth it. John Armin Sarian's cape up, as he threw the cape on for the pitching lab, Chris Hook and company, was they must think they can tweak and fix Montas to a certain extent. Now, I don't know that means that Frankie's going to be great. I don't necessarily know, and I don't read in there of, hey, I'm right. He's going to throw 7 shutout innings against the Cardinals in a couple of weeks. But Armin did say they might be able to fix him. I love the fact that the Brewers have now Cardinal fans are not going to like this. We got the new Dave Duncan.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I like that.
We got the new guy. We got the pitching coach that everybody can't figure out, everybody wants, everybody dreams of, and everybody salivates of, being able to take a DFA'd cat like Brian Hudson, give him the start to a year that almost was all-star worthy. Maybe completely tweak Aaron Savali and Frankie Montas to be starters in the postseason, let alone the work that he did with Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, Freddie Peralta, all the starters that the Brewers have had. I just like that we have the coach that's the absolute X factor, and we need to somehow make sure Chris Hook has no aspirations of ever being a manager. Keep him here.
There's a lot of pitchers for the Brewers that have been DFA'd, right?
There have at some point in their career, yes.
Doesn't that speak to what they can do? Like they can take other people's trash and turn it into their treasure.
Right.
They can build players up, and between the pitching coach and the advanced scouts, as we hear Wags talk, the advanced scouting for pitchers is absolutely huge. If you could teach these guys before they get onto the mound and educate them on where to actually throw your pitches and what pitches are going to work and what scenarios, and then you have a pitching coach that can teach them how to throw and work on their mechanics and work on their time. I mean, whatever there is in the water here in Milwaukee, it seems to be working.
Indeed. And you look at guys like Colin Ray that have improved. Obviously, Tobias has come up and pitched great this year. And, once again, I'll say there was a lot of consternation about losing a guy like Corbin Burns, obviously a really good pitcher. We know that. And he's pitching well at the Orioles. But the Brewers have been able to replace him en masse with a group of pitchers, a group of arms, and not been any worse for the wear. The Orioles and the Brewers have essentially the same record. And, we don't have to deal with Corbin anymore, which is another positive. So you have to look at it. You don't have to worry about him.
Don't have
being
to deal with Corbin anymore.
And you have to look at it a couple ways. So it's going to be interesting, obviously, come playoff time, right? What will the Brewers set up in their rotation? Who's going to get the starts? It's kind of the favorite topic du jour these days where, if the series started today, who would your starters be for the Brewers? It's hard to really say. I mean, your first thought is, well, Freddie's Freddie, but he's not really the guy pitching the best right now. Is it Colin? Is it Tobias? If Frankie Montas stays hot, would it be Frankie Montas? Would it be a conglomeration of all these guys? So it will be interesting to see. Obviously, it's August 21st, so there's a month and a half to worry about that. But
even better, Brent from New Berlin fires in with this one.
Yeah.
I was watching SportsCenter last night, top 10 plays. Funny how 2 Cardinals plays make it, but Joey Ortiz's play late doesn't. The hate for the Brewers is real.
We love that, don't we? We love that.
It's rolling.
We love the.
I don't know. I went to MLB.com yesterday after the Brewers sweep the best team in baseball, or on Monday, I should say. Not a damn word about the Crew in the whole headline story. I mean, it is fascinating. It is fascinating that the little engine that could is just being somewhat cast to the side. Ken Rosenthal answered it. Ken Rosenthal talked about it on Foul Territory yesterday. That listen, it's not me, not me. Because we've totally read about the Brewers all the time.
That's
all
an
the time.
That's an Armin Soren comment right there.
He is. Let's see how
that's an Armin Soren. Hey, selective memory. Forget the fact that Armin said go over on 7 yesterday. Forget that. Let's forget that. Let's start talking about what Armin had to say about Frankie Montas.
Right? I thought you were going to bring that up until 11:10.
No, I'm gonna bring it up and then I'm gonna remind the audience at 11. Right? There's turnover, Armin. Remember our teaching? Remember what our coach tells us? There's turnover.
Most of us said just take the Brewers on a money line, which would have been the best of you because then it was plus money. But you know,
we chose the can't miss. That literally could not miss. The money line was great too, better odds. Yeah, that one potential miss. This one, no.
Minus 230 is hard to miss. All right, so Ken Rosenthal fired in with his take on what the Brewers' national attention has been, and if it's right, wrong, or indifferent.
We need to give more respect to the Brewers.
They're alive.
It's a good thing. Now that last tagline, if that's not on a t-shirt, I don't know exactly what would be. There's a hunger there that kind of defines the Brewers, and that is who they are. I mean, that is, if that's not one of the reasons why I think this team in particular, John, you've talked about it a couple of different times, about this team feeling more fun than other teams, right? This team feeling a little bit different. This is one of the reasons why I do believe that there are more people like Jake in the 414 that said, good, let's fly under the radar and win the whole bleeping thing, because it just feels different. Dan and Delafield, I've said it many times. The fact that Coach Hook stayed when Counsell left was maybe the biggest move of them all. What he's done with all these guys is remarkable. The list is endless of pitchers who are tossed aside, who have had success here. All goes back to Chris Hook. And as Rosenthal alluded to there, Devin Williams is the only guy in that bullpen, I believe, right now that has not been DFA'd in his career.
There is something cool about flying under the radar, where there will be games that don't necessarily matter a lot, but matter a little the rest of the season, right? Every game matters.
I get it.
We know that every single game matters, but there are games that matter more than others. And if you fly under the radar, you don't have the pressure in those games that matter less than others. And you don't actually start getting that attention, which turns into expectation, which turns into pressure and anxiety. And you don't feel any of those external pressures until you're in the moment. You don't have to wear that heavy crown like teams like the Yankees. Anytime they go on a 3-game slide, the crown is weighing down on them. It brings them back to earth, and it's monumental. For the Brewers, they don't have that, and they won't have that until they make it past a point in the season that people did not expect them to be at. Now we're getting towards the end of the season, so people are going to start bringing up the Brewers as a viable candidate. And if they finish with the best record in the regular season, you can't help but have to talk about the Brewers. But man, still the attention and the conversation will all be steered towards the big markets. And that's great, because the Brewers can get themselves to a spot where all of a sudden they are against one of those big markets. And then that's when the feeling, the anticipation, and the expectation all come together. But you're already in the moment, and you didn't have to wear that as long as the other teams do.
Yeah, I mean, there might be something to that. I guess I talked to you about this, Billy. It used to really bother me when our teams, I should just say just the Brewers, Bucks, whatever, would not get the national attention or the national love. I know Mike
it would
talked about this
a little bit.
It would bother me, but as the years have gone, I've kind of gotten over it. And for 2 reasons. A, there's enough quote unquote national. I mean, this is the internet age. Obviously, this is social media, internet, where what is national and what is local anyway? I mean, I mean, it's not like once upon a time you had to wait for SportsCenter or the network games for a sport to be on. I mean, I always talk about the Bucks in the 90s. Didn't even feel like they were part of the NBA because they would never be on NBC. They'd never be talked about on NBA inside stuff. Obviously, they weren't good. It was a small market. Nobody cared. They weren't a factor. That's where you're like, nobody in the national media would ever care about us. If we ever got one little blurb in a USA Today, you'd get super excited. But you know, there are podcasts now. There are MLB Network. They're talking about everybody. So national doesn't feel the same as it used to. Also, I've just come to accept that we're Milwaukee. We're always going to be a small market. We will always have a certain level of, you know, people just not caring about us outside of Milwaukee. That's just the way it's going to be. So when we finally get over that and start enjoying, we are what we are. We got us, and that's all we need. Who cares about how much national attention, love we've got? Who cares? If we win, we're going to get our trophy, and that's what matters. So to me, I've gotten over that aspect a little bit more. I'm not worried about it. I have a buddy that's still always telling me, like, nobody, you know, we never get national attention. I'm like, we're never going to get it. We're never going to have a national fan base.
Oh, okay. So you're buying in.
I'm not talking about the Packers. That's a separate deal. Packers obviously are a national brand, but like the Bucks and the Brewers, you know, the NBA is never going to care about Milwaukee, right? The NBA national, you know, mediascape, the machine will never care about us. Just like the Brewers, we're an afterthought to everybody.
I do think the Brewers might be a little bit different, and people won't like this, but I think Mickey the Fitz is slightly on to some of it because he said, you know why the Brewers never get any attention and eyeballs and coverage like big teams do? Because they never won anything. Nothing. How many years have they been to the playoffs and as the best teams get into the playoffs, but they have won one playoff game and lost 9, right? In their last 10 until they actually win a title. They will continue to be the little brother in joy. Now, granted, Mickey, your team was also always nationally covered, and they were actually called the losers, the lovable losers, because of how many times they would raise it to an art form. The interesting part, though, and why I don't think he's fully wrong, is you don't get the belief that you can do it in October until you've done it in October. Drew talks about this a lot of times in baseball when he's talking about voting for awards. What's the easiest way to win a Gold Glove? Have a Gold Glove. Right. The made part of baseball is a thing. The made man feel in professional baseball, I think maybe even more than in other sports. We look at in the NFL, the one that we talk about the most. Pat Mahomes is the most made man in pro football right now. Who gets scrutinized potentially more and picked at with his game? Pat Mahomes gets picked at and prodded at all the time. Tom Brady did every single time they start poking at what you can't do
LeBron,
instead of what you've done. Yeah. So,
but it goes both ways. You can throw a meaningless behind the back pass just for show and giggles in a preseason game, and it can turn into, look at what this guy has done that nobody else has ever done, right? I'm just trying to say it does go both ways, right? You get elevated to a stature that is probably unhuman-like, that is probably unrealistic, and then you also get broken down and picked and prodded at as well. So I'm with you on that, but there's benefits as much as there is negativity.
But again, it's the conversation, right? So like if indeed you're a made man, then you will get that conversation. Yep. They haven't. So I understand where some of it comes to and where the lack of full attention does always blaster through. 414-799-1973. A lot of good ones here. Talking Brewers baseball. A lot of people like talking Brewers. Falcon John. If the Dodgers didn't, though, have all their injuries, parity wouldn't exist. Just being objective. If they get healthy, I don't see the Brewers beating that team. Did you see the 2019 Nationals beating them?
It did happen.
Isn't the best availability?
Yeah, a lot of their guys are going to be available come postseason time, right? Betts is back. You start seeing a lot of dudes firing
We've
back
never
up.
seen anybody come back from an injury and maybe struggle, maybe be a little rusty. I'm just
right.
until it happens, we can't project that it's definitely going to happen.
Well, and we know the Dodgers have a great team. They've had a great team the last 10, 15 years, won one World Series. It guarantees nothing come playoff time. You have to get
They've won
it done.
one since 86 for a reason.
Exactly. And you have to get it done come playoff time. I mean, they've won 100 plus games, I think 6 times, 5 times in the last 10 years. And didn't get a World Series in any of those years. You have to accept the reality. Yes, they're a Bowser. Yes, we look at them as that team, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
But they're not unbeatable. No, nobody is. Nobody's unbeatable in baseball.
How about our guy? Shout out to Justin, the Uber driver. How's it going, fellas? Coming to you from a hospital bed this morning.
Uh-oh.
I'm on the mend. Been in here since Friday. Been missing you guys on the YouTube stream, but it's up this morning, and I got it on in the bed. So, Justin.
Good to hear, man.
Good to hear from you. Good to hear you're getting better.
Get well for sure. Yeah.
And we will be with you. We were with everybody. Wherever you are, wherever you're trying to grab 9 to noon, iHeartRadio apps everywhere. I got into a rather heated debate with a couple of the players the other day. They said, you think iHeart's bigger than Spotify? I said, young men, how about you sit down right here and let me have a conversation with you and tell you about how Spotify has copied this iHeart business model for the last 15 years. All right.
I like that.
Oh, yeah. Trust us. We know that we're bigger than Spotify, bigger than Apple Podcasts, #1 podcast distributor in the world. So you're going to find the iHeartRadio app wherever you are. Also, YouTube, you can stream the show right here, or X, whichever one's easiest for you. And on 97.3 The Game and our Game network of stations. It's 9 to noon. Guys, the best part of this calendar is finally here. It is football season, almost just a couple of days away from college. NFL is 2 weeks from tomorrow, and the best time of year is back. That means it's time to get on the Underdog Fantasy app again. Over millions of fans last year made money making picks with Underdog Fantasy. Why don't you join them this year? And you could also have the chance to win 325 times your money by simply choosing higher or lower on player stats this year. That's as easy as it is. The Underdog Fantasy app is going to be your favorite one on your phone. Whether it's watching a single game, the entire slate on a Sunday, you can pick higher or lower on player stats from all different games, just between 2 to 8. Make your picks on Underdog and track your picks all day long. Super easy, even easier to get started. Download the app today or go to UnderdogFantasy.com and sign up with promo code Billy, BILLY. Underdog will give you a highly discounted pick to use on your first pick-em entry, plus a deposit offer, a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. You heard me right. Underdog Fantasy, promo code Billy, to claim your new customer offer of a gimme first pick and your deposit offer, a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Terms apply. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. 9 to noon on the game. Interesting story here, and one that will get a lot of college football fans excited. Pete Carroll is headed back to USC. Not to coach football. The former Seahawks and Trojans coach told sports radio KJR in Seattle, iHeart affiliate,
let's go,
on Tuesday that he'll start teaching a class at USC in the spring.
Oh, God.
He didn't offer, though, any specifics beyond that. Said, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a really exciting endeavor when it's finalized and all those different parts of it. He's still, those comments that he made on the radio appearance, first time that he's been on local media since the farewell press conference in Seattle in January. So it's been a long time since people there had heard from Pete Carroll. They were all very, very excited about it. But just imagine that. Pete Carroll, all that energy running around as he playing catch. That would be a good college professor. However, I fully believe my man's taking attendance. He is going to be upset if you're skipping class.
No laptops in class, guys.
No laptops in class.
No
Probably
laptops.
not going to be allowed to have phones out. Like, that's going to be, he's going to run a tighter ship, I would assume. I don't think that's going to be an easy A for anybody grabbing in on Pete Carroll's class.
Yeah, but I see him in like a lecture hall pacing around in front of the class, right? Don't you think that'd be the Carroll style?
How's he going to tell the kids they can't chew gum in class when he himself has a whole pack in his mouth? Like,
So
now that's a good question. Yeah.
So gum can't
do
be
as
outlawed.
do as I say, not as I do. You know, that the old parent adage that he's going to be throwing.
I'm excited about it because there's more stuff to teach. There's more stuff to share. Everybody wants to know what I'm doing and all that. Am I coaching or what am I doing? I'm working with some really fun people, some really exciting opportunities, do some really cool stuff and putting things together for others. So I'm going to say,
what does any of that mean?
and I'm going to keep working this way and see what happens. What that means is I'm not fully retired. That's all that means. I'm putting some things together. I got some really cool opportunities. I'm doing a whole lot of stuff. Hey, by the way, if you have a head coaching job, my number is still the same. You could still give me a call. If any of the guys that got out of coaching last year, that threesome of three of the greats of this generation, when you talk about Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, as well as Nick Saban last year.
Yeah.
Pete Carroll's the one that I see potentially wanting to be on the sidelines more right now. Still, though, I think Belichick's a head coach in the NFL next year.
Well, Vrabel is somewhere right now, isn't he? What is he
I didn't
doing?
have Vrabel's
Isn't
name in there. He's with the Cleveland Browns as like a special analyst.
Oh, who
assistant.
was your three? I was seeing Vrabel.
Saban, Carroll.
Oh, you got I don't see Saban coming back.
That's why I said the three of the greater coaches of the generation.
Done,
right.
Yeah, I think Saban's done. I think Bill Belichick will come back. I think there is, 14 behind Don Shula. I see.
Yeah.
You can get that in 2 seasons if it's the right place, if it's the right scenario. That might actually be the Dallas Cowboys.
I couldn't
if
believe no
we're-
one hired him last year. I still
if
couldn't
we're really
believe it.
speaking on it. I mean,
See, I'm
they
not
got
surprised
close.
nobody's
They got
hired him
close.
last year.
I think they got close in Atlanta. I think they got really close
Right.
in Atlanta to hiring him.
Somebody
But
will
I
grab
see-
him.
Doesn't
I
sound
see
like it.
out of those three, out of the 3 old heads. See, I just assumed when you said 3, I wasn't even thinking Saban. I was thinking NFL. I was thinking Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel will be a head coach again someone.
Oh, yeah.
I very much believe that. But I think Bill Belichick will come back to chase down that title of the winningest coach in NFL history. Many of us see him as the greatest coach in NFL history already, but there's that linkage to Tom Brady. If he gets that most wins moniker, because Shula did have Dan Marino. If he gets that most wins moniker, then he can kind of hang that as, hey, look, I do have the most wins. Tom Brady was a big part of it, but he wasn't the only part. I do have the most wins too. Greatest coach in NFL history. I see that playing out.
Yeah, which is still why it surprised me he didn't get it. I know Billy and I, we've talked about it ad nauseum, but he didn't get anyone taking a chance on him. I don't know if the shine is worn off Belichick, but I think you're right, John. Someone will give him a chance at some point, if nothing else, because it's going to put butts in the seats. It's like you're hiring Belichick. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. But I don't know. I keep thinking that
NFL teams are having a really tough time selling out.
I guess you're right. I don't mean literally, maybe, but eyeballs, attention,
Yeah.
that type of merchandise.
I mean, he's not going to coach. He's not going to go coach the Carolina Panthers, right? Like he's going to coach. If he's going to coach, he's going to coach a blue blood. He's going to coach one of the better teams and one of the premier programs in football.
What if a second offseason goes by and none of the blue bloods want him? Nobody else wants him. I think he would take something. at some point. That's
I
the only
don't
thing
know,
I'm
man.
saying.
He's hanging out. He's got podcasts. He's on the Pat McAfee show with a Scrabble board behind him saying Pat McAfee football show.
He's having fun. I get it now, and he's showing personality and stuff. He's probably getting money paid, obviously.
It's one of the reasons why I was not surprised he didn't get a job last year. There's a lot of shine that was wore off of Bill Belichick last year.
But don't you think that his ego would want him to re-shine that shine? Like, you know what I mean? And in some ways, like, I think he wants. Oh, you mean that's why people didn't hire him?
That's why he didn't get hired last year.
Yeah. Oh, I get that. I get that a little bit.
No, I'm not saying that he doesn't want to.
Right.
But listen, the further and further you are out, there's not a whole lot of 70-year-old coaches that people are lining up to go hire.
Well, there's one that's a college professor now.
One that's a college professor right now, and Red Hot Tim Knott might have a little issue. I might have a little issue with his class in his course that he thinks that Pete might be teaching. Gum chewing 101, absolutely, with a splash of when not to pass the ball. Well, Pete would be able to tell you when to not run the ball, right?
Yeah, that's what that is more, because
he's better at not running it.
Can you guys imagine when he puts out? There's got to be a kid like me that when he puts out his office hours, goes right to his office and like, can we break down? Just wants to ask him about games and breaking down film. Yeah, my office hours are 2:30 to 5:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Guys, come in my office and talk. Hey, coach, I just wanted to check in and say I'm in your class. And can you start breaking down the let's look at some film here.
That'd be awesome.
Let's look at Super Bowl. How awesome would that be?
No, well, and then he goes, all right, well, hold on. Why do we flip this on? And then all of a sudden he accidentally is trying to flip on, like USC against Fresno State and accidentally flips on the national championship game against Texas. And we're like, all right, let's chop this one up. Let's have some fun.
I think it'd be awesome.
D-Rock.
There's someone that wants to do that.
Good morning, you beautiful boys. Question: if Belichick wanted to coach Green Bay, would you fire Matt LaFleur without hesitation?
No,
I'm not going to fire Matt LaFleur. Come on.
D-Rock definitely thought that answer was going to be different from all of us.
If there was a coaching opening, I wouldn't be opposed to having Bill Belichick.
414-799-1973. Well, listen, Kyle Shanahan wanted him to be the defensive coordinator. That one was not working. Bill Belichick enjoying himself, enjoying the broadcasting booth, and enjoying out of coaching for now. We'll see. 414-799-1973. Hour 2 around the corner. It's 9 to noon on the game. Hour 2, 9 to noon, brought to you by Happy Place Hemp and HappyPlaceHemp.com. Everybody relax with Happy Place Hemp and make your weekend a whole lot better when you can get 25% off your entire order at HappyPlaceHemp.com. That is going to make just about any day better. And then let alone that we're heading into a weekend that you can imbibe and enjoy maybe a couple of those Delta 8, Delta 9 gummies, which are strictly recreational. Or you're eyeing up a Viking weekend thinking, I could sleep in. Sleepy Time Gummy might be in your future for the weekend, might be a winner for you. HappyPlaceHemp.com is the place to go and get 25% off your entire order every time when you use promo code Billy at HappyPlaceHemp.com. 414-799-1973, NicoletLaw.com talk and text line. It's a wide open Wednesday. We're open. We're hanging out with all of you on that NicoletLaw.com talk and text line. That's where Amir from Cedarburg dialed us up with a question that he wants to ask us here on 9 to noon about our Green Bay Packers. We're going to hear from Colin Cowherd and a bold prediction he has in a couple of minutes. But first, Amir, you're on 9 to noon. What do you got this morning?
Hello. So I just got a couple of questions about CeeDee Lamb and all that. How's it going?
How's the CeeDee Lamb negotiation going? I'll be honest with you, Amir. I don't think it's going all that well. He had mentioned that he had said that he wants upwards of 32, 33 million. Doesn't seem like their numbers are drastically apart. However, from the reporting, it seems like there's some frustration as to when the money is going to hit his account and all that kind of stuff. So it doesn't seem like it's ridiculously far away from being signed, but there's definite hurdles. So he's far from signed at the moment. So what's the next question you got?
Yeah, I get that 100%. Next question. Is he going to request a trade? We got to notice that. We got to see if he's going to request a trade. That's all I want to know. I want CeeDee Lamb to come to the Packers.
Now we're talking. Okay,
right,
so Amir, so you want the Packers to trade for CeeDee Lamb. What would you be willing to give up for him?
Even though for CeeDee Lamb, 100%, I would give up Christian Watson. Even though he's been injured tons of years, he's been injured. Like I don't seem Christian Watson would be the guy to have right now. I would think CeeDee Lamb can come in, be our wide receiver one. We still have Romeo Doubs and Jaden Reed.
Yep.
Then I would say we give up a 2025 first-round pick and a 2025 third-round pick.
Okay. Oh, so my man is putting together a real package. Okay, that's a real package. Amir, we appreciate it, man. That's a great call. Don't be a stranger, all right? Give us a call back, all right?
All right.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. John, first, third, and Christian Watson. I don't think it costs that. I think a third and Watson would probably get it done. I mean, they're talking about a third and a fifth, and maybe a wide receiver for a Brandon Ayuk trade. The tough thing is, as the acquiring team, you're signing that contract extension. So maybe the compensation is a little low. Just throw Amir's package out there. What's your take on CeeDee Lamb if he would request a trade from the Dallas Cowboys? Would that be a target that you'd want the Green Bay Packers to be hunting for?
Nope. I don't want any part of that stuff. I don't want to play those games. Listen, we are in a really good spot right now with a wide receiver room with a lot of young talent that doesn't need to be paid a whole heck of a lot of money for another year or two. So let's just sit back and relax and not worry about a guy who last year his MVP candidate quarterback had to force him the ball so much in the divisional round game that it turned out that he threw a pick six and another interception and played quite poorly in the first half of a game. I mean, just everything that is wrong that we are finally out of, that we don't have to worry about anymore. Think about when all the targets went to Davante Adams, when you don't have to worry about doing it. And listen, I loved when Davante was here. I loved when Aaron was throwing to Davante. But the pressure to not have that guy that demands the ball and needs the ball. Do you know how many targets CeeDee Lamb had last year?
180.
Yeah, a lot of them.
180 targets. I mean, you have to focus in on a guy like that because at this point in time, you have to pay him $35 million a year. Do we want to have to pay $35 million a year for a guy? And do we want to give up a first and a third round and one of our wide receivers for the opportunity to pay a wide receiver $35 million a year? I don't want to play and I don't want to swim in those waters. I don't want anything to do with that because I think the Green Bay Packers right now are in a good spot Would it help if they had a CeeDee Lamb on their team? Yes, but not at the price they have to pay for it.
Yeah, obviously CeeDee Lamb in a vacuum is a talented player. He's a guy that you'd want to have on an offense. I get it, but you're right. At that price, and do you want to rock the boat with the offense for what you have building right now with a young group? Obviously, you want to develop great players, and CeeDee Lamb could be that guy, but is it the best thing for your team right now? He would cost a pretty penny. You'd be giving up all those draft picks. It's a lot of capital. It would be a risk.
If you don't throw the first round pick in there, I would be really intrigued for it.
Sure, if you could just get him for Watson. I mean,
Watson and a third. I mean, a third's not a no price, right? Like a second or a third, I'd be very intrigued for it because of the caliber of player he is, right? Like, I mean, if you're talking about Brandon Ayuk, that one I don't see, right? CeeDee Lamb, I think, is a markedly better player than where Brandon Ayuk is, and understandably so. It looks like he's asking for about $3 or $4 million more.
Why do you say CeeDee Lamb is a markedly better player?
I think he's a better route runner. I think he's a more physical guy with the ball in his hands. I think he's a dangerous cat with the ball in his hands. I think he's a better player.
I think it was out of circumstance last year for CeeDee Lamb, and it has been. I mean, he is their playmaker. Right? They didn't get much out of the running back position last year. Brandon Cooks is a viable target on the other side, but it's not like they have the weapons that a 49er team has, right? When you have a Christian McCaffrey, a Deebo Samuel, a Kittle, you can work that ball around. And I think that's part of the reason why, Brandon Ayuk is asking for big money, because he believes he is that big time guy, that top tier guy that you could target more than what he gets targeted. He just happens to play on a team with a bunch of superstars, with a bunch of talent.
So you think Ayuk's better than CeeDee Lamb?
I don't see either of them as standing out as significantly better than the other one physically. I don't see it. When I watch them run routes, when I watch them with the ball in their hand, when I watch them go up for the football, I think I would put them right beside each other in talent level.
I mean, there is a volume aspect to CeeDee Lamb. It doesn't mean he's not good. There's a reason he gets volume.
Sure, yeah.
But you have to ask, if a lot of guys got 180 targets, could they produce like him? I know he's explosive, though. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't think CeeDee Lamb's a good player. But I know, and I see Palin Kenosha says, why introduce a CeeDee Lamb element into this perfect locker room? I know there's a lot of people that would go there, too. I'm not sure he's a bad egg necessarily or whatever. I know he's good and is going to be costing a lot of money. I'm not sure he's going to come in and be a locker room problem or something like that.
Well, Armin, you start asking for more money, people are going to assume that you're going to.
They don't like that. I know we don't like that. I mean, that's something that sports fans don't like.
People are going to assume that you're going to be a problem if you're asking for more money.
There's a lot of pocket watchers out there. I get it. And
I
think we have a good locker room too.
But to defend that, I mean, CeeDee was doing a very similar thing to what Jordan Love did at the beginning of this training camp. They just didn't get the deal done down there. They just didn't get it done. Now, I mean, Jordan Love was here. It was cordial. It was nice. It was, I didn't like the phone call that they got the day before training camp started that said, oh, hey, by the way, he's not going to practice. That was kind of like, hey, could you give us a little bit of heads up? Maybe we would have sped this whole thing up. Maybe we wouldn't even been in this situation. But they got it done and they made it work and it happened. I don't know if CeeDee Lamb, if he was a Packer since his inception into the NFL, if it would even be at this point in time. I think a deal would already be done. I think he would already be happy. I don't think this would. I think part of what makes CeeDee Lamb look as bad as this situation does is because it is down in Dallas and they do have Dak Prescott that they're trying to get solved. And it is Jerry Jones talking about it every single day. I don't think it's that bad. But with that said, it's to me what comes with it. I don't want to have to pay for that production because I do believe in this receiving core, the group of guys. And talking with the Packers coaches, they love their top four guys and what they each bring to the table. Talking Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, and Dontavian Wicks. They think the four of them
as a unit
is a deeper room than any room that's in the NFL wide receiver room. And I can't disagree with them on that as far as depth goes. Now, is there somebody that you can go to in an absolute crunch time to make that big play for you? That's the one question we all keep asking, and it makes Matt LaFleur want to puke.
He does. He doesn't like that. Yeah, he doesn't like number one receiver talk. And listen, isn't this basically the same discussion we had with Devontae? I mean, Devontae was a great receiver. He was our go-to guy. He had a lot of production for the Packers, but eventually the Packers didn't pay him. and we've moved on with a unit that's, really good. I mean, even once upon a time, Sterling Sharp was that special great receiver, but the Packers as a team were better once he left as a unit. It doesn't mean that great receivers aren't good for your team. I think it just means that sometimes, when you replace them in mass and replace the resources that it takes to invest in them, it can sometimes help the team succeed. It doesn't mean you can succeed with great receivers. Don't get me wrong. I think we all love Davante Adams and wanted him to be a Packer, but my thing is, this is the same discussion. If we weren't going to pay Davante, why pay CeeDee Lamb?
How much older do you think CeeDee Lamb is than Christian Watson?
I haven't thought about it, but they have to be similar ages, I would think.
34 days.
Yeah, similar. Yeah.
And I mean, just think about that from the production value of what you've gotten. Now,
he's better than Watson. I agree with that.
Like, the injuries are a part of it. Like, you're looking at a dude that since he's walked into the NFL has been just a shade under 1,000-yard receiver. And that's after walking in from Oklahoma, where he was one of the most dynamic playmakers in all of college football. Like, it's an interesting one. Out of the guys that are somewhat available, and I would put him in Ayuk in that same vein, nobody's touching Jamar Chase, right? Like, I think they're going to figure something out there in Cincinnati, or he's just going to walk. But I think these two would be the ones that quasi could be available. I'd go Lamb far before. I'd be intrigued. I'd want to have the conversation. I'd be interested in the conversation. Like we saw last night, the Bears were in the conversations for Matthew Judon, offered a 3rd-round pick, waited back trying to hear if he would sign the contract extension. Nothing. I would like to know that you're at least in that conversation. If indeed he's available, that you're bantering it around. You're pushing around. Because as we're going to play right now, Colin Cowherd thinks that this Packers offense is different. This Packers offense could be elite. He thinks it could bring one player, the headlining player, the league's most valuable player award. This from the Herd yesterday. There you go. So Colin Cowherd, out of his 5 bold predictions for the NFL here in 2024, John Kuhn, Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love, becoming the 3rd consecutive MVP quarterback in Green Bay. Now, that's a bold prediction. I do think it's interesting that he starts with the reason he's going to win it is partially voter fatigue. I think that's an interesting spot when really it's been Lamar and Pat that have won one. Those are the 2 guys that have won one in the last couple of years. But your response to that statement from Colin Cowherd.
Yeah, what are we talking about here? We got Lamar Jackson. We got Patrick Mahomes. Aaron Rodgers isn't injured, and he's going to have some weapons around him. Mm-hmm. Are you just dismissing that Aaron could have, a magical season? You talk about a narrative. You talk about a narrative now. Hey, I don't know what kind of season he's going to have, but if Aaron Rodgers goes out there and let's just say he has, could you see him throwing 40 touchdowns and 10 interceptions?
Well, he's done it in the past. It would be hard to bet on because of the age and the injury, coming back off injury.
I just don't see them playing that way.
I don't think
with that defense, I don't see them playing that way. But
I would never
talent-wise could be interesting.
Count him out to do it. I just don't think it's likely to do it.
You think it's more likely Aaron Rodgers wins the MVP than Jordan Love?
No, I was just talking about voter fatigue. Aaron Rodgers was just a 2-time MVP 2 years ago.
True.
A back-to-back MVP just 2 years ago is what he was. So could he get back to that level? Yeah, potentially he could. I think it's going to be tough. I think having a year off is going to be tough for him. And I think Patrick Mahomes, there will be, and for Patrick Mahomes, it's not the voter fatigue of the MVP. It's the voter fatigue that he just wins everything. He's got MVPs. He's got Super Bowl MVPs. He's got Super Bowl trophies. And then Lamar Jackson, the fact that, he's done it 2 years in a row. And I get why he got it last year, but if you really dive into it, he was just the playmaker. He was just the playmaker last year. He didn't really have the gaudy statistics. I think it's very realistic to look at what Jordan Love did at the end of last season and assume that if he does 80% of that over a 17-week season, meaning if he's 80% as good as he was the last half of last year for a whole season this year, he is going to be in the conversation.
Especially if it's a year like last year, where in my opinion, there was no runaway MVP candidate. I think it was more emeritus.
It's funny that you say that, though, that there was no runaway MVP candidate. And Lamar won the vote 49-1.
That is, I know, because I think there's a groupthink consensus aspect to the media. They'll all agree on one guy and then just vote him in.
Go there.
But there were a bunch of guys throughout the season where we really couldn't decide who should the MVP be in this
That's
league.
because we couldn't vote because people wouldn't vote Christian McCaffrey.
And you have a point there, John, because
that's why
we're like, well, the Niners are good, but is Purdy the MVP? People wanted to talk about him and not McCaffrey. Remember all the days you talked about
finished
Purdy
third
not
and fourth,
winning, all that stuff. So they took away votes from each other. So I think it's possible.
They did.
I think it's more likely, honestly,
they
guys.
did take away votes. The thing about Patrick, or the thing about Lamar Jackson is look at what was around him last year. All kinds of, destruction and doom. Running backs going down, offensive linemen getting hurt. Mark Andrews got hurt, and here he was just producing and getting in. They had the number 1 seed last year, right?
Correct.
The number 1 seed.
Yep.
Getting the number 1 seed in the AFC with Patrick Mahomes. I think that played a lot to do with it. So, hey, Jordan, I believe, and I said this the other day, I believe Jordan Love will be in the MVP conversation at some point in his career. I believe Jordan Love will get MVP votes at some point in time in his career.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that. And I think the way this team and the way this roster and the way this offense is set up, and if Matt LaFleur can get in his bag again this year, the way he was in his bag, especially last year at the end of the season in those playoffs, if he can have that and keep that humming, that plays very well for Jordan Love.
Yeah, I also think it's Colin. I mean, let's be honest. I don't know if Colin really believes what he's saying here, but I think he's also salty that he's been so wrong.
That?
He's been salty that he was so wrong about Jordan Love, calling him a bust, saying he wasn't going to be able to play. Remember last?
Did you listen to him last year?
He declared he was a bust, so he wants to.
What did he say the last 10 weeks?
He wants to. He said he'd play better, but how could you not say that? It was pretty obvious. And I think he just wants to turn around now. He wants to set him up for failure by calling him the next MVP.
Armin, I think
that's
the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Well, that's what I think he's doing.
Armin, I think you're remembering Adam Shine, not Colin Cowherd.
Shine did it too, but Colin Cowherd said he can't play. He's a bust.
Yeah, Cowherd jumped right on that too and said, it looks like they've made a mistake.
And
but at the end of the year, he's like, I'm wrong, man.
He did say that. He did say that, but how could you not? I mean, you would be silly.
How about you give somebody credit for admitting they're wrong one time?
I'm happy he did that. I also know Colin has to create a lot of content. So he has to fill a lot of time and say a lot of things. So he's going to be wrong with some stuff. I'm not saying he should never be wrong. I'm just saying you don't like Colin. I'm just skeptical. I'm just skeptical of his motivations in this topic. I'm skeptical.
Like or dislike Colin Cowherd?
I don't like. I mean, personally, I don't know the
guy. Not personally. I
think he's an absolutely great broadcaster, talent show host. He knows what he's doing. He keeps you on the edge of your seat. He creates great content, and it's not easy to do what he does. I'm skeptical of his motivation on this Jordan Love topic specifically.
But again, what's the motivation for him changing his mind and being right?
I think that
that's the part of it that I'm just not understanding.
Because I think he wants a chance to circle back
and say, "Oh, I've been right now.
I wasn't so wrong. I told you guys in the first place what he was going to be." So, and maybe that's just me being. You're a little defensive,
you're guarding
the
quarterback, yeah.
And I'm probably being a homer on that aspect, but that's just who I am, and I can't help but look at everything he says. Then I want you to play Colin.
I want you to play Colin Cowherd right now, Armin. I want your take on Caleb Williams. What is he?
What Caleb Williams? What's he going to be?
Let's play this out. This is what Cowherd did last year before Jordan Love's first year starting. I want you to do it for Caleb Williams right now. What is Caleb Williams going to?
Caleb looks like the guy. The Bears have finally gotten one. I mean, did you guys see the plays he's making? The plays he's making are unbelievable. No, I don't know what he's actually saying about Caleb.
I want you to actually give us a take. Give us a take?
I think Caleb Williams is a guy that can give you exciting moments, can make a lot of exciting plays, but I don't think his consistency is there. I really don't. I mean, if you watch him from the pocket, he's a pretty inconsistent quarterback still. And to become great in this league, you have to be consistent. So can he make a lot of exciting plays? Yes. A lot of quarterbacks in this league make flashy plays, but they don't
Justin
necessarily.
Fields.
A lot of guys, sure, that's a good example. I mean, from the ground, maybe more. Trubisky had great moments even his rookie year. Caleb Williams is a very athletic, talented guy. He's shown you a lot of great plays he can make, but can he become consistent from the pocket and be a consistent playmaker and winner? You know, when you make the boring plays, completion percentage, things like that.
So
I think he's got a lot of work to do.
What? You think he's going to be what?
I think he's going to be a guy that flashes early, that is just a guy so far, that maybe if he becomes more consistent can be a great player, but that remains to be seen.
So there's no answer there.
There's no
answer there.
Well, maybe there is no hot take or no answer, but that's my honest opinion on what I think about Caleb Williams.
So just because you say something with a firm opinion, because you make a statement,
and then a mea culpa if you're wrong. You can mea culpa if you're wrong.
Apparently not. Nope, can't. Nope, can't, because you're changing your mind. You're changing your mind, so then people think that you're right. That's the falsehood of it. So just because you make the statement, then you never have the opportunity to amend it and firmly and truly believe it.
Does Kyle Hurd mea culpa every time he's wrong? Does he do that? If he does,
I don't know. I don't fact check.
Again,
I don't really keep it.
If he really did that, then I would give him some more credit. Okay.
No, you don't want to because you don't care. You've said it multiple times. You don't believe that he's going to be truthful with it.
I'm skeptical of his motivation on his Jordan Love takes, and I'm going to be because of how strong he came out early on to call him a bust before the kid ever played.
Because you never change your mind.
Yeah, I mean, then you can change his mind on it.
Can I say
Jordan Love changed his mind?
Armin, let me say something real quick. Let me say something real quick. Had you asked a lot of people before the start of last training camp, what is Jordan Love? There was a lot of people. We're not really sure. We hope.
Okay.
We hope.
Right.
We're not really sure. If you spend 3 years with a guy and you're not sure yet, there are some people out there. If they hear that, if they hear a coaching staff or some scouts or spend 3 years with the guy and you don't know yet, and you're moving on from your Hall of Fame quarterback and Aaron Rodgers, that is red meat. That is red flags for a lot of people out there.
I understand.
Good. If you think that Goody and Matt and everybody else in that building weren't ecstatic by the end of last season to know, yes, now we know. Nobody knew. Nobody knew at the start of the season.
So then why?
Colin Cowherd was giving his opinion.
Nobody knew. So you shouldn't say this guy's a bust.
That's what you're paid to do.
Fine. Then I'm telling you, I thought he was wrong for doing that. That's all. I'm giving my opinion on his opinion.
Again, but then there's no statement of understanding that new information changes the opinion. The first opinion you had is the only opinion you can have.
No, he changed his opinion, and he did. But I'm going to be skeptical about his other ones now going forward, because of how wrong he was.
We weren't talking about the other ones. We're talking about Jordan Love.
That's what I'm talking about. Jordan Love and the opinion of Jordan Love.
And the opinion on Jordan Love changed.
It did. I'm skeptical on what his motivation is for this new opinion to call him MVP. Don't you think it's a little extreme to say he's going to be the MVP of the league?
It's a bold prediction on a Tuesday in August.
I know, and I acknowledge he has to come up with content like that, so that's fine. That's all right. He can have his bold prediction.
Cowherd is a turd and a clown, said Barrister. Does anyone really think he'd have a take that he hopes is wrong? I don't think that he hoped any take is wrong, but admitting that you were wrong on a take is a big part of it.
You have to admit some guys want their take that they had in the first place to be right, so they can be consistent.
Dude, you're talking to the guy that wanted Brock Purdy to be out in the second quarter of a playoff game, so my Sam Darnold take could be right.
I want to be right about everything.
That it's wrong.
I want to be right about everything. Zabe wants to be right about everything.
Yeah,
sure.
I will say this about
some guys cheer for their take to be right.
So let's play this game. Let's the three of us play this game. I think Caleb Williams is going to be electric this year as a rookie. I do. It pains me to say it. It pains me to say it, but I think the Chicago Bears got their guy.
I think they got their guy, and I think we are going to see some downturns for this rookie this year. But by the end of the year, and unfortunately the Packers only play them at the end of the year, I think by the end of the year we're going to be like, damn, we're going to have to deal with this guy now for the foreseeable future.
I made a bet with Aaron Nagler on our podcast a couple weeks ago that I think the Bears will be favored in that road game that the Packers play down there. Do I hope I'm wrong? 1,000%. But If I'm wrong, then I say, hey man, Packers are a better football team. Then my motivation's not right.
No, I'm not saying.
I'm just trying to line this up.
You can have a take. That's totally fine. I'm not saying you're not allowed to have an opinion. Just like Colin is allowed to have his
never
opinion.
Change it whatsoever.
No, I'm just skeptical, honestly, about his opinion on Jordan Love. Caleb Williams will probably have an RG3 type rookie year. He'll have exciting moments. I don't know if it'll be sustainable and until he's more of a consistent player. Now, RG3 got hurt. I understand that. I'm saying assuming he stays healthy because he was really exciting at USC, but his team couldn't consistently win to the point of, being championship level.
In year one.
I'm just saying.
Jeff in Fitchburg, change your mind, but own up to it. I respect guys that own a bad take, but I think the problem Armin hit on is he blows out hot takes and doesn't own up to all of them when they're wrong.
I don't have a problem with him blowing out a hot take. I'm just going to take it with an air of skepticism of how much he really believes that. So Colin's saying he's going to win. Okay. All right. We'll see. I mean, I'd love Jordan Love to win MVP. And I know it's supposed to be a bold take. I understand that. Bold take.
Would you prefer that he doesn't win MVP so you could dunk on Cowherd?
No, it doesn't matter to me that much. Of course not. I wouldn't do that.
Okay.
I'd much rather.
But if he does win,
but
if he does win MVP and Cowherd screams it from the mountaintops, are you going to say, yeah, but you only did that because you said he was a bust like 2 years ago?
I don't know. Maybe I will. I don't know. Yes,
you probably will. He'll probably find a way to. 414-799-1973. Brad and 414. Come on, Armin. Love finally getting some respect. Let's just enjoy it.
I enjoy Love whether
even
or not,
if it's from a clown like Cowturd.
I enjoy
the Cowturd nickname is everyone's favorite for Colin.
Oh yeah, it's
so easy.
That's everyone's favorite.
It's easy. It rhymes perfectly.
Man,
best
in the game.
I'm enjoying Love whether or not Colin Cowherd says he's good or Adam Shine or any of these guys. They don't affect my enjoyment of sports. I'm sorry, they don't. My
listen,
guys.
I'm different. Listen, I really like Adam Shine. I listen to him a lot. I feel like that take he had on Jordan Love last year was because he really enjoyed. I think his interviewing of Aaron Rodgers over the year, which they are tight, I think that jaded his ability to be able to objectively just judge Jordan Love.
I see. I'm not saying I don't like their ability as broadcasters either. Colin Cowherd is a great broadcaster and a great show host. I totally admit that. I mean, it's obvious what he's really good at what he does.
He's the absolute best, man. There's a reason why he is the gold standard in the business. 414-799-1973. It's 9 to noon. Stay wide on the game.
John Kuhn here for Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. And how do you say welcome when you have guests over? Well, you should say it with a new entry door from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin because it's the first thing everyone will see, and you can make that memorable. You can also say it with color. The possibilities are endless thanks to Pella's custom colors picked nearly in the spectrum. Also say it with Pella's premium doors stand out due to their distinguished craftsmanship, which you pick every detail of, so you will guarantee that you love it. And finally, say it with a great deal. Get 0% interest for up to 3 years with no money down and equal payments. I'll say it one more time for you. 0% interest, 3 years, no money down and equal payments. But hurry, this offer ends August 31st. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. And please, when you do, tell Gina Della that John Kuhn sent you. Visit PellaWI.com today.
I was okay, coach. Give yourself some credit, coach. It was all good. That was yesterday, Matt LaFleur taking a shot at a writer and broadcaster walking in late to the press conference. Now, John, I do believe, and Armin pointed this out, there may have been a moment there where Matt's like, you bleeping kidding me? Again? We're going to do this again. And then realized, yeah, maybe this isn't the best look for the head coach of the Green Bay Packers to do this in the middle of training camp, call out a reporter for being a couple of minutes late.
Man, I just wish he stuck to that, kept that energy the whole way through, man. If you're going to rip somebody, you rip them.
It felt real.
It felt real.
It felt real.
I wish it stayed real. And you know what? Hey, let's keep it real. There is a time to these
punctuality. Yeah,
there's a time to these press conferences. Please don't be a distraction and disrupt the press conference. Obviously, we all know, hey, mistakes happen and people can be late at times. But when a player's late to a meeting, if you're late to a team meeting, that's a big old fine. That's a big old fine now. So if you're not gonna make it, don't show. I wish you would have kept it. Oh wow, he was just having a little bit of fun.
It felt real.
But hey. It did feel real. It did feel real. But then you got the mea culpa. He beat him down before he picked him back up.
Yeah, I guess
Brian
so.
Flores. Did you see the Brian Flores rebuttal to Tua Tagovailoa?
He felt bad about that. Yeah, he did.
The relationships are the number one thing, man. There's some of the most important parts of the game. To be able to hear that was the reaction and the feeling that he had is really, really difficult and frustrating to have. It's a tough moment, man. It really is. And I would like to be able to feel a little bit more of that from LaFleur if he would have forced the writer to go and sit out in the hallway.
Sit outside and think about what you did.
No, just one of your teammates can fill you in on what you missed in the meeting.
Or you can just watch it live on Packers.com, right? Like that's what I don't get.
Yeah.
If you're going to walk in late to the meeting, like if I'm getting to the door and I look at the door, I'm a minute late. You know what? I'm gonna sit out here in the hallway and watch it live on Packers.com. I don't get to answer. I don't get to ask a question today, but I'm gonna get all the answers right here.
All right, couple on the talking text line here, and from our reaction, or in reaction to what we had just on the other side. 705 in Minnesota. Now this is Pete, the truck driving SOB. I like Pete.
How did you get that name? Okay, go ahead.
I like Pete.
I like it.
Coon, my hot take is Sam Darnold will be the second best quarterback in the North behind Jordan Love. Pete.
That just made Billy just hit the bottom of the table.
Pete.
Like that.
My boy
so
Pete.
excited.
Come on, Pete. Sam Darnold hype train. Come on now.
Yeah,
let's resurge that. Let's resurge that career and then go, move to a different team in the AFC.
The hype train is there. Everybody get on. Yes, John.
Quick question. Why when anybody speaks any type of pleasantries about Caleb Williams and the potential that
I have a
he
problem
could
with
be
Caleb.
really good, you get all worked up. But when anybody says, even Billy says Sam Darnold hype train is real, I think the Vikings are going to be real. You don't have a problem with that. Do you see that as being a real possibility, or do you dismiss that as complete hogwash?
Oh, he's dismissing it right away.
Well, Caleb Williams is a Chicago Bear, and he's the number one pick, and he's got all the hype in the world right now. So obviously, people are talking about him. Because
you feel that a bigger threat.
I don't think Sam Darnold is a factor. I hate to say it. I just don't.
Sure.
I mean, I just don't think he's a factor. If he turns out to be really, really good, do we think Sam Darnold has a bigger ceiling than Caleb? I don't. Now, if he turns out to have a better year, which could be possible, then it'll be an issue because it's I don't want certain teams to win.
That's all Billy and Pete, the truck driving SOB or something.
I didn't say he's going to win the MVP in 3 years.
No, but you think he's better than a lot of people give him credit for.
I think he's much better than people give him credit for.
It's part of the hype train.
And he's with one of the best offensive-minded head coaches, I think, in football, Kevin O'Connell.
You like him a lot. I know that. And for good reason.
And he might have the best wide receiver in all of football.
I just
and when he comes back, he might have one of the best tight ends in all of football.
Yeah, I just don't.
And we like their running back a lot, don't we?
I just think it's less likely he's
just interesting
good than Caleb Williams is. I just think their abilities are different. However, you're right. He does. You stack up everything he has around him. Aaron Jones is going to help him. Jefferson's going to help him.
Pair of former USC quarterbacks, each were top 5 picks in the NFL draft.
So now, which would I rather
out there?
Which would I rather have play bad? Is kind of where my mind goes.
That's exactly what the answer really should be to John's question.
I think
the answer both.
the answer is always
it should be. Armin, if we're fanning the way you told us yesterday to fan, it should be both. But if we're listening to the Armin Sarian index of how to fan, it should absolutely be both. But for some reason, it feels like I feel like you look at Caleb Williams and you are nervous. You are scared. You are worried that all the
he's got ability. He's got ability. There's no doubt. He has physical ability, and we want
to. Rumors could be true, and all the hype could be real, and that what you saw make scramble and throw, and then followed it up with an electrifying scramble touchdown run could all be real. And come to fruition in your face down in Chicago.
We want to live in a world. I think as Packer fans, where the Vikings and Bears are always bad. At least I know I do. I want to live in that world. I don't want them to ever have great players, great teams. So it's always a fear, will they get a great player? Obviously, because Caleb Williams has level of physical ability and hasn't played yet in the NFL, where Darnold has, and there's some people that say, okay, we've seen what he can do, which is nothing. There's a little more fear about Williams, right? But if I had a choice, I'd rather have the Vikings be worse than the Bears if I had that Sophie's choice. So I'd be honest with you.
Really?
I kind of dislike the Vikings more always. Right. I don't really want the Vikings to be good. Now, they've never won a championship. The Bears have. So I've already lived in a world where the Bears have championships in their case, even though they should have 8, not 9. I don't want the Vikings to ever win
you
one.
were on this earth during that time.
I just feel like, but barely, right? And I just feel
like he barely lived through that, John. It's not really even that difficult for him to fathom what 85 was like.
Well, you got to think of the levels of trash talk. I always feel better living in a world. See, one of the best things about being a sports fan here and being a Packers fan is I can always have the number one thing, which is like Vikings have 0 championships, 0 Super Bowls. I love saying that. I want to be able to say that till the day I die. I want to be able to have that trash talking bit till the day I die. I don't want the Vikings.
We can help you with that.
Well, please don't do that. I mean,
what?
What are you going to say till the day? What are you going to kill
me?
We
could find a way to get the Vikings out of the NFL.
Oh, that, yeah. Well, I was hopeful.
Jeez, this guy thinks we're killing him off.
That's what I thought you said. No, I was hopeful that they were going to move to LA for a while. Remember that, the stadium deal? I thought we were going to
remember
win.
That one as good. I do remember Phil and Madison saying Cowherd's takes are equivalent to the sky is falling or the boy who cried wolf. They get old. People stop caring. He'll fall off just like Skip Bayless. Well, if he falls off after 20 years of being on national television,
at 70 and at 71,
that'd be pretty impressive.
It's a good time to fall. Don't we all fall off around that time?
I think we all.
I hope I fall off then and not sooner. Shoot, I sure hope I'm
retired by 71.
Exactly.
I want to be retired by 71. I'm throwing that one out there. I don't want to be talking into the microphone by the time I'm 71. If I am, something went terribly wrong.
Or by that podcast in your basement, right? The retirement podcast. That'd be good.
I mean, or I just never got better at sports gambling. That's probably why I would maybe have a microphone at 71, because I never got any better at sports gambling. We're going to try to show you that we're better at sports gambling in about a half hour from right now. When we hit the Potawatomi Sportsbook for a Coons Can't Miss, we'll hit into a lot more of these talking text line messages because they are robust at the moment, packed in right now. And also, the Packers have a couple of people that are continuing to have eyes towards teams elsewhere in the division. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep discussing it with you ahead of our best hour of the day, hour 3, coming up on 9 to noon. 9 to noon on the game. I just forgot, but luckily that award-winning 15-second promo for the Drew and KB show reminded me. I got to hate them.
Okay.
I got to hate them the rest of the week.
Okay, why is that?
They're broadcasting from Circa Las Vegas coming up tomorrow and Friday. So that is like a personal deal for me, John and Armin. Like when anybody goes to Las Vegas and I'm not there,
oh man, yeah.
I hate you for a couple of days.
Got to.
So I get to hate the afternoon show for a couple of days while they get to go and hang out, John, at that beautiful stadium swim that we were at. Or you know what? Maybe they'll hang out in their hotel room because I don't know if they're going to have as much fun as this show would out in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I mean that's what I think, right? I mean, I think we'd have a lot. I mean, I don't want to say
Armin's
that.
thinking about the Mob Museum.
Oh, I love it. I want to see all the stuff there. You know, I love visiting the desert.
You love going to the ballet shows.
Yes. I'm not a one-trick pony. I want to go to the museums. I want to see the Titanic exhibit.
Oh, at Luxor.
Yeah, man, that's cool. Lauren, I went there. I loved it.
So you did go and see the Titanic?
Really nice. Really good. I loved it. Yeah,
and you didn't have to get into a weird little submarine and dive down with a Logitech gaming controller for a PlayStation 2 and go and see it?
No, all you need is like $30 and you're in and out. And it's
I like that one a lot better. I like that one a lot better than going down to the depths of the ocean to try to go see it. So Drew and KB will be broadcasting live from Stadium Swim coming up the next couple of days. They are out today. We will be up at Packers practice tomorrow. Final public practice of the training camp. It is maybe the best public practice of the training camp, John, because you get the Baltimore Ravens in here, you get the joint practice. Now, Packers fans were not able to see the joint practice that you were privy to a week ago. This is must see if you are a fan. If you have one day, I've said this to a bunch of different people that have asked me, if you have one day to try to get to Packers training camp, the joint practice is the one to earmark, take the day, figure out a way to be up there. And 10:30 tomorrow, it's going down at Ray Nitschke Field.
Yeah, we're going to have a blast. I'm excited for this. We're going to get to see last year's former. And here's the deal. The Ravens, by all accounts, aren't going to play anybody in this last preseason game. So we're not going to get to see it then. So the real action, the real action is going down tomorrow. Like you said last week, Billy, if you have a vacation day stash that you need to use it for tomorrow and go see this, because you're going to get Packers ones, you're going to get Ravens ones. And this is the closest thing to real football that you're going to get before the regular season, before
That's a good point.
2 weeks from Friday. This is going to be what you get, because we're not going to get it this Saturday, not for the noon boom, not at Lambeau Field. Neither one of those teams are going to play a whole lot of stories this weekend, as I suspect.
And Michelle in Wausau is going to be there. She called to ask me when she should get there. I say, get there early. She goes,
I would suggest early.
She goes, I would suggest before 8 o'clock.
Right. I said, get there as early as you can. She's going to bring her parents.
Damn, 8 o'clock.
Well, if you want to get a good
I think
seat.
8 o'clock. The gates open at 9, and you know those lines for this are going to be long. There's lines there at 8:30 for regular practice.
And bring your bikes, because the Ravens are going to.
Ravens will also be doing bikes. They will be doing bikes from a different location as well, so it won't just be walking out of the same American Family Dream Drive. So keep your eyes posted for that.
Right. If you want a Raven. I mean, if you're a kid and you get, well, it'd still be cool, but it's like when I was a kid and I got one of the autographs, I think from one of the Detroit Tigers. I really wanted a Brewers autograph, but I'll take it, Yeah,
you'll take a Rockies player.
You'll take something, you'll take something. So
you're going to tell me some kid's not going to be fired up when Zay Flowers jumps on his bike tomorrow?
Yeah, it's still pretty cool.
Might be somebody that becomes a massive fan of offensive lineman's name, Tyler Linderbaum. Insert here. Your boy, center formerly of Iowa.
There you go.
You have no clue who Tyler Linderbaum is.
I don't.
3-time state champion wrestler. Let's put some respect on that name.
I gotta follow Iowa wrestling.
414-799-1973. No country club style practice here. It's 9 to noon. It's all business. Hour 3, our best one of the day, comes up next on the 9 to noon on the game. Hour 3, best one of the day. It's always going to be better when we get to dunk on the St. Louis Cardinals while playing Nelly, coming back and letting all St. Louis Cardinal fans remember the fact that last night the Brewers won 3-2. And just one other piece that I wanted to share here. File this under things you love to see. This from Katie Wu last night. Katie Wu covers the St. Louis Cardinals for The Athletic. Tonight's announced paid attendance of 30,022 is the smallest non-pandemic crowd in the history of Busch Stadium 3.
Wow. I guess
again, just file that under things you love to see. The greatest fans in all of baseball.
The greatest fans in
best
baseball.
Fans, the ones that are going to let you all know how you should cheer for a team, how you should applaud greatness on the other side, let you know that really they somewhat invented baseball.
Right. They stick with their team through thick and thin, right?
Thick and thin.
Right.
There's nobody hardier and more in love with our team than them.
30,000 Armandsarians in that stands.
Smallest
That's
non-pandemic crowd in the history of Busch Stadium.
I wonder if they're going to do the wave tonight.
Well, I did see some pictures.
Amazing.
The 8th inning, and it was like, man, it is sparse in that place right now.
Yeah, and then there's no chance there were more than 20, I think, in there. Like, I just from watching it from first pitch on, like, there was no chance that many people were in there either.
At least a third of them went there just to get dinner.
Well,
hey, let's go get a ballpark Frank and a beer and then call it a night. That's what we're doing.
Well, and even, John, they have Hardee's, I believe, or I don't know if they call them Carl's Jr.
Might be Carl's.
Might call them Carl's Jr.
I think if you're west of the Mississippi, no, maybe that's something different.
But they have a Hardee's and Carl Jr. in the stadium. So like that for dinner is very much could be a thing. Like, let's just go in here, cool ballpark Hardee's, get ourselves a big burger, and then roll on through. That's what my dad and I did when we went down to Busch Stadium. It is an amazing place to watch baseball.
It is a Hardee's, I think. Yeah, it looks like
Hardee's up in left field.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I think on the terrace level.
There's a big sign. Yes.
It is an amazing place to watch baseball. It's even better when the Brewers are beating them.
Oh, it's fantastic.
And using Frankie Montas 7 innings of one hit ball, I should say, and shut out 7 innings last night.
The Cardinals fans, yes, they anoint themselves the best fans in baseball, but they also think that they're entitled to winning. They also think that they're entitled to great players.
That's true,
teams.
Yes.
And it's been a couple of years now since they've really been good. I mean, it's been a few years now since they've really been bad for a couple of years. And that doesn't sit well, clearly, with the St. Louis Cardinal fans who clearly don't have much patience for bad teams. Unlike, people always compare Packers fans to Cardinals fans. So the way they talk about themselves, the way they feel they're exceptionalists. As far as I remember, the Packers had pretty bad 2-decade stretch of teams and kept selling that stadium out. I'm just saying.
You could say sold out 2 stadiums.
That's a good point, actually. And when the rubber meets the road and your team actually is bad, let's see if you guys keep showing up. And
let's see if they're still cheering for Ollie Marmol's squad all the way through.
30,000 is still a good crowd, but for them, if they want to be the best fans in baseball, I expect them to sell it out more.
I saw that last night, and I actually sent Katie Wu a direct message and said thank you for it.
I
quote tweeted it and I sent it to her. I said, thank you for that information. I don't think you quite understand how happy it makes me.
Jeff from MKE says, yeah, watching the game 30 is a stretch. It looked empty, like you said,
John. Looked empty.
Plenty of empty seats last night.
That bleacher section in the 8th inning when Carpenter hits the pinch hit home run to make it a game. Mm-hmm. And Chip Carey's call was really, really good on the replay this morning. I was able to watch because we watch the replays of Brewer games probably more than we do the actual live game. Just because when little guy wakes up,
Carson needs it on. Yeah,
he needs Brewers on. No Miss Rachel. We're getting away from the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. When we wake up, we want the Brewers game on a condensed version. Run that thing for a loop for about an hour, and then we can go and watch something else or do something else. But first, I got to get a full hour of Brewers in, similar to how we used to, guys, as kids. Watch SportsCenter before school, right? Like when you'd get an hour of replays and the taped version and you'd be able to figure out all of it right away. Wants to make sure he's not missing a thing on that Brewers victory from a night ago.
He'll be in travel ball in like 2 years, Billy. I don't know.
Let's not do that.
He's like going to be a 3-year-old like travel ball.
That sounds like a really expensive endeavor. That sounds like a really tough one. 414. I'd rather have the Packers and Bears duking it out in meaningful games than the Vikings or Lions. Beating up on this crippled team is fun. But it is kind of sad. Beating them when they actually have hopes and dreams priceless. Now, this goes against Armin's thought of that he would, John, be more concerned if the Vikings were better than the Bears this year. Where do you fall in on 414 spot? Because I'm with him. It is more fun to beat the Bears and beat Bears fans when they actually think their team, like now, is on the rise.
Man, it doesn't matter. During my time playing, the Vikings had a run there. The Lions had a run there.
Yeah, Lions had nice teams.
Beating all of them.
Well, yeah,
I'm going to be honest. Beating all of them. That really feels good. And if there's one, I don't know if there is one that feels sweeter than the other, but the Bears is the biggest. That's the most games in the NFL. And I mean, by 100, it's not even close. The second most is Packers Vikings. So we got the two top, biggest rivalries in the NFL. And here's the deal. This division is going to be something. Mm-hmm. This division is really going to be something this year. I think that the J.J. McCarthy injury is going to hurt the Vikings more than most people actually think. I am not going to be afraid to make a prediction, Armin. I'm going to say the Vikings win 6 games this season. I just think that's going to be where they're at.
Okay.
And then you got the Bears. Man, that team could be playing for a lot towards the end of the year. And I'm nervous that Caleb Williams is pretty good. And we haven't even talked about the Lions here today. And they went to the NFC Championship game last year. And I believe that MCDC up there is gonna just have them rolling again this year, because if you heard what I thought he gave one of the best press conferences a coach ever gave after a championship loss, when he goes, I told the man it hurts. You don't know if you're going to be back here next year. This is the reality of this thing. We might scratch and claw and be really good, but not get back to this point. That type of mindset, man, into that team. Have you ever been around one of those high schools, Billy, that lose in like states, and then they make the T-shirts unfinished business, and then that team just somehow wins the state championship the next year because all those guys come back with these teams? That's what I feel like is going to be rolling with the Lions this year. I think they're going to be really tough, and I think the Bears are going to creep up there too. I don't see the Vikings in it, unfortunately, because of that injury that they suffered at the quarterback position.
Well, it's going to be a really competitive division, I think, no doubt. And you're right about the Lions. We don't really talk about. I mean, a lot of people just consider them still the favorite in the division, which makes sense. So it'll be competitive, no doubt about it. But somebody's going to have to lose games in this division. And I hope the Bears. That's just the way I always look at it. In terms of rivalries, I respect
you take the Vikings one way more serious.
I want them to lose more, but I respect the Bears rivalry more, which is it's different quality, right? I think I interact with more Bears fans than Vikings fans, which makes it more enjoyable to win those games. But something about the Vikings I just can't stand, and they still haven't won a title, which is
just remind them. Yeah, just remind them. I do like that, because a lot of people right away have hit us up on the talking text line like 262. That's a bad take, Armin.
Okay.
F the Bears.
Which one? Oh, that the Bears. Yeah, I mean, I can totally understand someone having more of a dislike for the Bears than the Vikings. That's probably a personal, a personal
thing.
That's personal taste. I totally get that. A lot depends on what part of the state you're in too. I really believe that. If you're in Kenosha or Racine, you're worried about the Bears rivalry, right? Because you're interacting with all those Bears fans.
That makes sense.
If you're up in River Falls and stuff like that, up northwest part of the state, you're always around Vikings fans, so you want to beat them bad. So I totally get that. That's part of it. It's what fans you interact with that annoy you the most.
Well, hopefully we're interacting with this fan, Casey from the Falls, going to practice tomorrow with sideline passes. Can't wait to see y'all up there. Now you'll be able to see us across the field, Casey, but good vantage point with sideline passes. I like that little throw in too. I like that little dunk on there with some sideline passes. Let's go, Casey. Enjoy the hell out of tomorrow.
You guys. Yeah.
Enjoy the heck out of that tomorrow. There's a lot of people enjoying the Brewers conversation and firing this one in. As Steve in Whitewater said, is it wrong that I've already asked my wife who has season tickets, or asked my friend who has season tickets, about selling me one of his World Series tickets, just assuming he'll get them when the Brewers make it? I gotta plan all routes ahead of time, right?
You gotta prepare, right, guys? I mean,
is that bad, or are we going to say that Steve from Whitewater is trying to jinx the Milwaukee Brewers at that point? Because Kuhn didn't really want to say even if the Brewers would get to the World Series about the Pat Murphy statue. Pat Murphy statue's happening if they go to the World Series.
Some people don't some people will throw it out there confidently.
Yeah, Pat Murphy also going to be on Jim Rome today. So
and then if it doesn't work,
attention.
they'll give a mea culpa, right? They're not afraid of throwing out wild stuff and then giving mea culpas later, right? If they are wrong. Some people will do that from time to time and not worry about the type of ramifications that come from people saying, oh, well, you said they were going to win the championship and they didn't win the championship. What are you thinking? Why are you?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm not afraid of the mea culpa, but I don't want to do the mea culpa with the Brewers. I don't want that negative karma. I don't want any possibility. Armin, listen, like I said, you're the most stitious, but there's always a little stitious in everybody.
There is. But in terms of this, as a fan, you got to prepare to win. You got to prepare for greatness. I got no problem with him trying to set himself up for a World Series ticket if it will happen. I'm not one of these guys.
I like the planning.
Well, I don't want to even consider it until they make it. But then you're never going to get there. Now, when you buy,
you got to manifest some of this stuff.
If you buy playoff ticket packages, they give you all the possible games anyway.
Yeah, I believe you get all the games that you are available to get. So like if you have the 20 game pack and more, you can buy all the games.
So you'll have a ticket that says World Series Game 1 on it, just in case they make it. Right?
That's adorable.
But you will have those tickets, right?
You think they're making paper tickets for the playoffs?
I'm saying, they don't make paper ones anymore, but I don't know. I guess they're not.
See
anymore.
Now, Armin, I don't think that they just load them into your ballpark app right away. I think they would probably do it round by round.
I remember when my friend Mitch Nellis, when the Brewers beat the Cubs, he got them all right away, and he had them printed the next day, World Series tickets. He got the whole playoff package, but you're right. They're probably not anymore. It's probably all digital now, right?
It 100%. Would be all digital now, and so is the parking again.
Parking is digital again.
Brewers are bringing back the digital parking. This is totally going to work. No issues. It's not going to run into the same issue that they had on opening day when all of a sudden basically everybody got parking for free.
It's back, baby.
No. License plate recognition technology will relaunch at American Family Field.
We're going to do it.
Set to begin Tuesday, August 27th for the series against the San Francisco Giants. Okay. It won't be any issue. There won't be any problems until an hour into it. But we're going to try it again. Fans will see the clear signage in all parking lots with direction to park, then scan, then register your license plate. This direction is the same for prepaid parking and for fans who choose to purchase parking on site. Fans will park, then scan a QR code that is available on signage throughout the lots, and then register their license plate. More information can be found at brewers.com/parking. So, more importantly, and I don't know if you guys have this problem, you actually have to know what your license plate is. Like, that's the worst part of walking all the way to where the sign is and then being like, son of a gun, is it 375?
I know. I've gotten out of the car to look before. I've forgotten before. Now I know it. I've got a picture in my phone, but I know it by heart.
Picture in the phone.
You don't
smart
know.
Guy.
It's the picture in the phone.
Well, I do
Yeah,
now.
that's what every smart person does. They have a picture of their license plate in their phone. You should. You absolutely should.
When I first got a car, I was so excited, and I got a vanity plate. I got like a personalized plate.
Oh,
I don't have it anymore because I was like,
what did it say? Sorry in one?
No, I said Armin 1.
That's awesome.
I'm not even kidding you because someone I was just going to put Armin on the back.
Someone had Armin.
Like a jersey, Yeah. Someone in Wisconsin had Armin.
Oh, you would be a first name guy on the back of a personalized jersey instead of a last name.
Well, if it was a sports
jersey. I kind of
like
that.
Actually, I don't know about it. A sports jersey, putting a first name. That's good for little kids like Billy and Bobby. And
I think it's quite European potentially.
It is like the soccer players.
Yeah.
I
think you should. I think we should do that next time you get like $180, $200 personalized jersey. Put your first name on it instead of the last name.
Yeah, it's something to think about. But it was easy.
Basically, he said no. No, he said.
I'll wait till I get another one.
Thanks for the suggestion, but no chance.
Well, I'll be honest.
That's a really polite way of saying. That's a really polite way of just giving someone the bird right there. Yeah. I'll put that in the suggestion.
That was the nicest way I've ever been told. GFY.
I'll be honest with you. I don't even believe in personalized jerseys for myself. That's part of it too.
Yeah, even though you got that Brew Crew one.
I do because they gave it to me, but I would never have bought one on my own, right? Which I. Thank you to the Brewers for that.
Awesome.
I don't want to sound ungrateful, but I wouldn't have gone to do it myself. I would have got a player jersey for myself. Now, but that was an unintended advantage of having a personalized plate is I never forgot my plate when I needed to.
That's the worst. Getting up to the hotel registry. Do you have a car with us today? I do. Okay. Could you just register right here? All right. Make, model, license plate. The license plate have to be right.
That'd be right.
We would prefer it be right, sir.
Isn't it wild that you always consider just writing in a fake plate? You're like,
I've thought of writing the wrong one 4 times.
Like
but the problem is, if I do this, my car gets towed.
Yeah,
Dang it. I will be right back.
Okay, so 420 pod. I'll scribble that out. All right, hold on 1 second. Let me figure out what this one is.
I used to get nervous when they said color. Also, I'd be like, well, it's midnight slate according to the brochure, but can I put gray? You know what I mean? Like, actually, it's
do I have to say gunmetal gray?
Twilight dusk green or whatever it is. You know, they had those things. Yeah, gunmetal, awesome. Yeah. Or matte. You want to? I got matte black. I don't have the shiny black coating. I have matte. MATTE. Oh, okay. I'm gonna put that on there in this little space. You could just put gray. All right, guy. Well, you could just put black or gray. Like, you don't have to put the actual, manufacturer's name on it.
I like Falcon John. Selling out 8 home games for football has no equivalency to selling out 81 baseball games, guys. The local bias is running wild today. Falcon John, my brother in Christ.
Wow.
We will dunk on Cardinal fans, however and wherever, in whatever fashion it is. Whether it makes a little bit of sense, whether it makes 0 sense, or like last night, when it is the smallest crowd outside of pandemic for the best fans in all of baseball, which gives us a lot of sense to make. Oh, Falcon John. There will be big local bias coming from this fat guy over here on the radio. Like, I will just throw that out as many times as possible.
Oh,
I apologize for your ears if you could not take that local bias, sticking it to the St. Louis Redbird Cardinals one more time. Have that for the Lou. Enjoy that at the Potawatomi Sportsbook as well.
And you could have been down at the sports book last night watching that 3-2 Brewers victory, watching nobody sitting there.
Probably more at the sports book, John, than there were at Busch Stadium by the end of the game.
I guarantee you it was a better vibe. It was a better feel. It had more electricity down there at the sports book, because why wouldn't you? You got plenty of places to sit and see and watch a 2,000 square foot LED screen. So when they did take commercials there at Busch Field, you could have just simply turned over to the right and watched yourself any other Major League Baseball game. Why? Because it's 2,000 square feet curved and LED. It's the coolest screen you're going to see. It's basically like Lambeau's Jumbotron right there at the sports book. And it's got seating for 200 people. If you like, sitting in recliners or couches or kicking your feet up on a high chop chair, they got everything that you want down there at the sportsbook. So make your way down to Potawatomi Casino Hotel Sportsbook. Yesterday, thank goodness I didn't listen to Armin. Thank goodness I didn't listen to the suggestion.
True. See,
I over 7.5 runs. Over 7.5 runs. That's what Armin wanted me to take yesterday, and I didn't. I went with the sure thing. Probably should have taken the money line with you, Billy. We considered that one, but we took the short thing. It's called can't miss, so I couldn't miss taking Brewers plus 1.5 when they won last night.
Well, you had to risk 2 units though. So you did get the dub, but I was ready to give you 2 L's if it didn't happen. Because I'm not, I'm playing it fair here.
Oh yeah, you're eyeing it up over here.
All right,
accountant is in the building.
But
2-0 this week with some baseball. Ooh,
good thing you didn't take the over though.
That's special.
Yeah,
2-0 in baseball. So I'm going to stick with baseball once again. Why? Because I don't want to. WNBA. Every time you even just try and dip your toes in those waters, something crazy happens. Yeah,
you want to talk about gatekeeping fans? The W has some gatekeeping fans. I'm tried to dabble into the W, and John, I keep getting yelled at.
I'm done with the W.
I'm done with
the W. Every time you want to even just think about the W, say something nice about the W.
Yeah.
No. That's not.
You weren't here.
Actually working here. Yeah.
You weren't here
last. You weren't here last year before Kate Park. So what? I'm here now.
Now.
Angel Reese is better. But I like what she's doing too. Why is it got to be one or the other? I mean, the gatekeeping there,
it's unbelievable.
And then the antics, like the amount of, I guess, man, maybe something's crazy with me. I never anticipated the antics. The people yelling at the other people about this, that, and the other thing. Mad because a coach missed taking her starters out of a game that she was up 15 points in.
Didn't take them out early enough or something.
Didn't take them out early enough. You don't want the starters to stay in, then you beat them.
Right.
You beat them. Keep your starters in until they're started. I mean, wild stuff.
It's a crazy existence that I am glad that we are going to step away from.
The antics part actually is kind of fun for me though to watch. Like if they start beefing about stuff or there's some
but the beef is ridiculous.
I agree.
The beef is crazy.
But I agree with that.
And
but
then
that makes it entertaining.
And the stuff they say, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed for you.
This is what we're arguing about now.
It can be fun to. It can be fun to wager on though. In the summer.
Yeah.
Here's my thing about it. You gotta.
It can be fun to wager. It can be fun to wager. Okay, so the other night when Angel Reese had 19 and 20, right, and she hit the over on her rebounds. Her rebounds were like 16.
The rebounds
were 16.
It's been crazy. She's had crazy rebound props. Yeah.
Brittany Griner, they were up by 20. Brittany Griner had like she didn't even try and cover her. She just it was almost like
sitting in a chair.
If you think regular season NBA is a hard watch the W when they get up some points.
Oh, you think they
stop?
There's load management.
They stop playing.
Yeah,
they just stop.
Yeah.
They are load managing.
Okay,
it's a rough watch sometimes.
Yeah, I'm just so glad that I'm not the only one because I wanted to. I really wanted to. I just couldn't. Get it done.
All right.
What we can get done is a can't miss. And best part is, John,
you want to get it done?
Those people that were at the Potawatomi Sportsbook last night eating way better food than they were at Busch Stadium.
Indeed.
Take that, Cardinals fans.
Take that, Hardee's.
Take that.
Yeah.
Take that.
Carl's
okay,
Jr.
Listen, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna. Armin likes talking about the juice, so I'm gonna take a little bit of juice tonight. I'm gonna pick the Orioles on the money line in New York against the Mets.
Oh, you got a little plus money, plus 116.
There you go.
That's a great pick. I think
you can't take a shot at having courage. This is not as a can't miss as last night. Last night was could not miss, but this one I feel really good about. Baltimore Orioles plus 116 on the money line. Hey, here's the deal. The Brewer, and if I lose this, the best thing is if I lose this, the Brewers are one game closer to the best record in all of baseball.
Yeah, it's an emotional hedge. I like this.
Yeah, that does work, especially when listen, Cole Irvin had been one of my favorite fantasy streamers for a while. The boy has not been very good lately. But the Baltimore Orioles against the New York Metropolitans, let's see them do that thing. Let's see them do that thing. And the best part is it's a matinee game.
So you get some early action going.
You get the early action, and then you realize and know if you have to chase into the night.
Yeah, that's the starting soon tab that I love at the Potawatomi.
Yeah, 100%. Starting soon.
And this could lock up the week on a Wednesday.
Right.
How nice would that be?
Before dinner. You don't want to talk about can't miss.
Now
that's how you do that.
Now there's an 8.5 over under. I'm not going to touch that little guy today.
How about you shut your mouth on the over unders? All right.
Okay, I was wrong.
Lock it up.
I was wrong about the over. Okay, mea culpa. All right. For the
wow, look at you.
Thing. Look at me. I can have an opinion.
Look at you.
I can admit
admitting when you're
wrong.
wrong.
Well, your admission should be that you didn't trust Frankie Montas.
Yes.
That should be your admission.
I thought
that should be your admission, but it's not your admission. That should be your admission.
No, I thought he'd give up some runs. I did. I didn't see Frankie going in here throwing 7 goose eggs, you know?
Okay. Well, now we're learning.
Isn't that something?
Healing.
That's progress right there, John. I'm proud of our little buddy over here.
In fact, I think
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, no problem. In fact, tonight, if you really want me to say I believe in Tobias Myers, I might roll up on that, over 4.5 strikeout prop.
Why'd you say might?
Well, because I was thinking about the 3.5 because it's a little safer, but the 4.5 is plus 114. 3.5 is minus 205.
What's that juice on the 3.5?
If you dare knock that, if you dare knock that down to 3.5 after giving me guff for picking the run line yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't even talk about a bigger hypocrite.
Yeah, no, I will give you plus. I'll go over 4.5.
That would go in the hypocrisy Hall of Fame right there from Armin Sari.
You know what? I will do it, and I'll even.
I'll produce you're doubling up.
If I can make it, I will produce the ticket for you. I will go over 4.5 plus 114 on Tobias Myers. Just don't unit shame me when it's a $5 bet.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it. 414-799-1973. No unit shaming here.
Yes,
the size of your unit does not matter on 9 to noon with Kuhn, Billy, and Armin on the game. 9 to noon on the game. NicoletLaw.com talking text line really never closes. And we love the interaction that we get. Like when Tristan in Wausau calls Armin Waffle Sarian. That's a great one.
Okay, go ahead. Call me Waffle Sarian if you want. Waffle's a great breakfast item.
Great breakfast item. My
First
friend
of all,
Travis said that they made waffles
or pancakes.
Waffles for me. I like the crunch.
That there's way too much variance in here. Depends on one, who's making the waffles, right?
First of all, you're absolutely right.
Right?
You're right. You're right. I will say that because if you do the Belgian waffle yourself in that little maker and it goes beep, 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 and you take it out and you did it perfectly, and there's not even any of that stuff, curling out of the ends.
Yes.
But it's just a perfect make. Man, you throw some butter and syrup. Keep it simple. No need for powdered sugar.
I'm not going crazy on it.
Yep. Yeah, that is great. But have you guys tried the Krusteaz mix at Costco for pancakes?
John,
absolute
damn right.
Goat.
Those
things are so thick and so moist.
Wow.
They are the greatest pancakes you'll ever make yourself, Armin.
You really
Krusteaz?
Yes.
I've never
from Costco.
I've never eaten it.
Big old blue bag, dude. I mean, it is unbelievable.
And I'm glad that you call it the same name that I do, Billy, because when I called it Krusteaz and my wife says it's Cousteau, I said, oh, no.
No, it's not. It's Krusteaz.
No. We're talking pancakes from Costco. No way they got a fancy French name, Cousteau, to make pancakes from Costco. It's Krusteaz.
It also, John, makes me feel better because it reminds me of the Uncrustables, because that's what my friend Jake and I used to call Uncrustables. Let's get some Krusteaz in this thing.
Yeah.
And then it makes it even better because, dude, those Uncrustables are just...
It's a very hard pick, but you got to pick one. We can't be Armin Sarian. We have to pick one: waffles or pancakes,
because they can both be good in certain situations. I mean, that's all I'm saying.
I'm gonna go pancakes because you brought in the Krusteaz and the fact that then I get to make them on the Blackstone, which it's just an enjoyable experience.
I mean,
like it is one of my favorite things. Yes.
Man, you got the Blackstone before the smoker. That's
before
incredible.
The smoker, yeah.
That's an unconventional move, but you did it right, my friend. I think you did it right because I'm sitting here. I have all kinds of grills. I have a Green Mountain smoker. I got a Traeger smoker that I got handed me down from Red Hot Tim Scott. Thank you, Red Hot.
Yeah.
Actually, that little baby smoker that he didn't have room for, it's the smallest smoker, but you can fit like 8 racks of ribs on it.
It's impressive, huh?
It's the tiniest damn smoker in the world, but that thing packs a punch. So I got that smoker. I got feels like an 8-foot Weber charcoal grill. I have a gas grill. I have a propane grill, but I don't have a Blackstone, and I'm jealous about that. I need
fun.
It's fun. It's a lot of grills, man. Yeah, this is grill heaven, man. You could be just throwing stuff all over the place,
anywhere and everywhere you want,
flipping it from grill to grill. I mean,
Billy's going
spots.
But
sometimes I do, Armin. Sometimes I do that.
Yeah.
You bring up a good point. Sometimes I cook indirect heat on a charcoal grill.
Right.
And then I'm like, all right, let's get this sear real good.
Yeah,
come on now.
Flip it over. I get it.
We just need some grill marks on this thing now. Okay, it's done.
You know, I never heard of chicken and pancakes. That's the only thing I'm going to say about the waffles versus pancakes.
I'm a waffle guy. I'm going to take it before Armin settles the bet. We're going to make Armin do the really hard thing. He's going to have to pick between the tie. He's going to have to break the tiebreaker because when I was at that Cumberland Union building at Shippensburg or Nothing Finer Than the Kreiner Diner, I had to make my own waffles. Belgian waffles. And now you had to pour it just right. Because the cup that they had was a little bit too big. So you had to make sure. You filled it
all the way to the edge. You were in a danger zone.
You get it just below the edge. And if you get it just below the edge, because there's nothing worse when you're getting that thing out, if you got this huge mess and you can't pour in there. The mix of that stuff, it doesn't come up with water. So now you're not rubbing it off. You're rubbing it into the counter. Man, I'm so mad.
And it's more sticky. It's worse than ever. Yeah, 100%. It's my favorite part of staying in many hotels. Is the waffle maker.
It's the waffle maker.
All right, Armin, you settled the debate 1-1 tie.
It's waffles for me. It's waffles. I'm saying waffles. It's about the texture. I'm a texture guy. I also love chicken and waffles as a dish. I gotta go waffles for sure.
The chicken wings and waffles was what I had at the Potawatomi Sportsbook this past weekend when I joined Doug Russell.
Gangster.
John, I'm telling you, those were some of the best waffles I've ever had. Like they had the powdered sugar like baked onto the waffle. They actually gave the wings, which you did not undersell.
Oh, I told you those
big
wings
old suckers.
Those things are monsters.
That was real.
Mm-hmm.
That was a real dish that they were serving up at the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
Lumberjack Pizza is French toast. Hey, we're just putting two together here against each other. We're not making a whole like.
I don't
what's
even
the best breakfast?
see. I don't even know that you can count French toast because it's
French
just a
toast
completely
cannot
different
even be
thing.
in this category because in order to make French toast that compares with a Belgian waffle or these Krusty's pancakes, you're going to have to go get your own bread from some bread maker somewhere or make your own bread and then slice it extra thick.
Yeah.
And even then, how do you mix the eggs up?
Like, egg wash, all these things. It's a big process, you know. So I would agree with you there. And Brad Endowsman says put bacon grease in the Costco mix.
Next question. Yeah. Like that's the best part about the Blackstone, John, is make the bacon first. And then as you're scraping off the grease, you kind of just smear it right there on. Instead of dumping a bunch of butter, because that's what these YouTube guys do. I mean, like I am convinced when I'm watching YouTube videos of guys on the Blackstone, they're using 2 sticks of butter every time. Like it is unbelievable. You just slide a little bit of bacon grease on there, your pancakes are, as he says, divine. That's a serious one. Now, the interesting part in the vote for waffles, which is a difficult one for me to pass up on.
Okay,
Lumberjack Pete mentions it. A toasted Eggo waffle is a pretty damn good breakfast.
Oh yeah, but he's a lumberjack.
So much better.
Eggos. I'm a little disappointed at Lumberjack Pete. I mean, he's Lumberjack Pete. He's like man of the earth. He's chopping down trees and he's getting a frozen waffle. Like, come on.
Hey, who knew that Armin would take a shot at a lumberjack?
He already,
I mean, it just, just
saying.
call it a Wednesday. It's just a Wednesday on the show. And if it's not a mailman or a UPS driver or somebody that's cleaning up the septic tanks or anybody else that does really important work for us out there, now he's got to take a shot at a lumberjack.
Well, I just
say a lumberjack is soft.
11:38, John. It took till 11:38 on a Wednesday for this guy to offend somebody here. Working hard.
I love the lumberjacks out there. It's not about lumberjack people, lumberjacks as a group. I just expected a lumberjack to not say, I want a frozen waffle for breakfast. I like Eggos too.
Maybe he doesn't have time to make himself a delicious breakfast.
Because he's too busy cutting down trees.
Because he's too busy working.
All
like
right,
a grown-ass man.
He said, with all due respect, is basically what Armin said there. I'm not taking a shot at lumberjacks, but I would expect a lumberjack to do something else.
I would. I just thought lumberjacks. Okay, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. And I have to educate myself in the lumberjack community. I love.
Or maybe you just don't have to try to offend somebody on every single day.
Hey,
maybe we get to that part.
Hey,
just be nicer.
Hey,
could help.
John, my UPS driver, loves me, man. All right.
Are we gonna have this token UPS driver that you just say, "Hey, here's my truck driver friend"? See, I like everybody. I'm not. I don't judge against truck drivers. I have one. I have a friend.
Hey, listen, I was.
That's incredible.
Hey, they were back here in the new studio. They were doing work today. They were putting carpet down.
They're grinding back there, man.
There were sparks flying in there. You know, I was in there hanging out with the guys with the power tools and stuff like that.
Did you have glasses on, safety glasses, while the sparks were flying?
Well, no, I looked through the window. I didn't go in there.
He
wasn't going in there with the working class.
Why would he go in there and endanger himself?
Wow, Lumberjack Pete. And by the way, I'm not a lumberjack. I'm a delivery driver.
Oh, see, and that's why. And
makes sense then. Okay.
And that's why, Armin.
Makes sense already.
Wow. Hey, I appreciate all the drivers out there that put in the hard sweat work, toil, equity.
Hey, Hardo, sorry. I deliver auto parts for a living and I love frozen waffles. Am I a wussy?
I like frozen waffles.
Amazing.
No, I like frozen waffles. I'm not anti-frozen waffle. I just thought like Lumberjack Pete would have some special mix.
No, I was just making the case like for your guys' vote of waffles. My frozen pancakes
don't exist.
Cheeks.
They're not a thing. Yeah.
No, they're a thing. They're just terrible.
I didn't even try.
You can microwave like the frozen pancakes. They're just brutal. You toast an Eggo waffle. Lego my Eggo, brother. All right, you back up over there unless you're trying to lose a finger. Unless you're Armin, sorry, no, you're not eating them things. All right, we are
delivery drivers.
I like
anybody that cleans out the septic tanks.
That's a
lumberjacks and Cardinals fans. You're on Armin's watch list.
We got to find some more stuff that you really get triggered about. Who else is it?
I actually like frozen Eggo waffles.
Don in Caledonia. Armin attacks all of us nooners on a daily basis. It's amazing why they love this show so much. 414-799-1973. He is the ultimate offender. He's Armin Sarian. We love him so much. That's John Kuhn. I'm Billy Schmidt. It's 9 to noon on The Game. 9 to noon on the game. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us day in and day out on the NicolaLaw.com talking text line, battling through the offensive nature of one of our absolute favorite human beings, Armin Sarian. I mean, like, we really do. But John, it's incredible his ability to upset and anger and offend people on a day in and day out basis.
I stand on my takes. I'll stand.
You're standing on business.
I'll stand
on
business.
Sure.
So you don't have to do.
You stand on business.
Sorry, the lumberjack union can come at me if they really think I upset them by saying they should eat real waffles. All right.
Our lumberjack Pete. Wow, I must be the king of Armin's watch list. Cardinal fan and quote unquote lumberjack. Really a delivery driver who eats Eggos and French toast.
Well, first of all, he's calling himself a lumberjack. And
next thing, if you have a Corbin Burns t-shirt, oh my goodness. Yeah, then you are the headliner of the Armin Sarian watch list. Because Corbin Burns even caught a stray as we were getting ready for the show here earlier on today.
Corbin Burns, I'm curious to see where he goes next year, though.
And who's going to have to, I believe the quote was, John, when Armin and I were talking about this, quote unquote, deal with Corbin Burns.
I did
deal with him being one of the best pitchers in all of baseball.
He's a good pitcher.
Yeah,
he puts up
deal
numbers
with that
till the bright lights come on, right? So
414-799-19.
I was there.
You will stomp on graves. You love this.
No. We had a lead for him. I was there. We had a lead for him.
Amazing.
We had a lead for him in that game. That's all I'm saying. He couldn't keep the ball in the yard.
Casey, a real arborist.
I
not
appreciate
some
that.
Fake arborist.
Oh, because lumberjack Pete's not a lumberjack, so he's gonna get mad at me. The lumberjack should get mad at Pete.
You just keep shooting. Just keep shooting.
Maybe
he's gun pointed.
Maybe he's got a nice lumberjack beard.
What how many lumberjacks are out there these days? I don't even know. Is that a big community?
John,
still?
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I've never actually met a lumberjack, so maybe I'm naive here. Armin could be factually right here. I don't know how many lumberjacks. I don't actually know personally a lumberjack. I do know Paul Bunyan.
Yes.
Was a lumberjack.
I think they're up in the Pacific Northwest
and had a badass ox.
He did have a big ox,
who hangs out. And you want to talk about a beautiful breakfast where you can enjoy waffles,
Paul Bunyan's,
pancakes.
I love that place. Yeah,
and some of the most delectable donuts of your entire life. Paul Bunyan's.
That's a good place.
All right, so I love lumberjacks because Paul Bunyan is the dude. All right, and that breakfast spot, you can't tell me he didn't invent it. That actually was Paul Bunyan's brainchild while him and the ox were rolling around.
What
was his ox's name? Baloo?
I believe. I don't know for sure. I think it was. I'm gonna have to look that up if you want me to. I'll look that up.
You don't have to. We'll leave you looking up like the important things like stats and stuff.
You just sit back and relax. Don't look anything up. You just hang out.
Babe the Blue Ox. Yeah, you're funny, John. Babe the Blue Ox was his name. There you go.
Wow, you're funny, John. That was a little personal. That one felt
you're funny. It cracks me up.
One.
I just don't know if there's a big logging lumberjack community out here. And
it's disappointing. I wish there was.
For Tony in Germantown, who said he's been driving for 30 years, semi-professionally. So he's on he's on my watch list. No, you're not. I love the drivers out there. Now you said that you're a semi-professional driver. I don't know what that means. I'm on big leaguers, So, I want big league drivers.
I'm driving back up to Green Bay tomorrow for joint practice, the final public practice of the year. You could call me semi-professional for how much driving we've done in August.
Yeah.
But that comes to a close tomorrow at the joint practice. I am super, super excited to see it. John, I'll admit, and part of my excitement, and people can call me a bad fan, call me a bad cover of the Green Bay Packers. I'm excited to see Lamar Jackson in person. Like, I don't know exactly what we'll see from 8, but I'm excited.
The first time I saw him in person, we had a preseason game, 2019. I believe that was the first year he won the MVP. The first year he won the MVP.
Yep, 2019.
And he ran a touchdown against our starting defense, and it was electric in a preseason game. He went out there, bing, 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 and ran a it was, you don't realize he's actually bigger than what he looks on television. And he's so fast. The television makes him look fast, but when you see it in person, you're like, holy cow. Now, I don't imagine him doing a whole lot of running around here at practice tomorrow, maybe a little bit, but boy, yeah, that's a fun one to come to town. Him and King Henry.
Yes, no doubt about it. And Derrick Henry's a forgotten one. You want to see an Adonis in person, Derrick Henry will be there in the 22 jersey.
You want to see a couple of unicorns? Come out to practice tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be a place to be, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. These joint practices are different, great attitude, an electricity, a great buzz, and I can only imagine the Railbirds are going to be fully loaded up for tomorrow's practice. Coming up at 10:30, we'll kick it off at noon or at 9 with 9 to noon, and we'll take you up until noon when the team portions are rip roaring through Ray Nitschke Field. Can't wait to bring you the sights and sounds of the Packers and Ravens joint practice tomorrow. John Kuhn, I'm Billy Schmid. That's Armin Sarian. We are 9 to noon. We're going to get off here and hand it off to Mike Heller before we offend anyone else, but we will get back here at 9 tomorrow to do a whole lot more of it and try to be a little bit better. Mike Heller's next. This is The Game.